Tonight, the kingdom is asleep. Deep asleep. The villages are quiet, the windows are dark, and the long fields beyond the castle walls rest under a pale silver moon. High above them all, a single watchman walks slowly along the cold stone path of the battlements. His footsteps are soft and unhurried. Step, pause, step, pause. He does not rush. There is nowhere to hurry to. Above him, the moon hangs gently over the towers, pouring a soft white glow across the old stone walls. Torches flicker in their iron brackets, their flames bending and rising in the wind, then settling again. The light is warm, golden, sleepy. It dances across the rough grey stone, then fades into shadow. The watchman breathes in slowly. Cool night air fills his chest. He breathes out gently, and as he walks, the whole castle seems to breathe with him. Below, in the quiet courtyards, everything is still. Empty wooden carts rest near the walls. The fountain sleeps in silence. Stable doors are closed. The horses inside stand warm and drowsy, barely moving, their breathing slow and calm in the darkness. Far beyond the castle, the sleeping villagers lie beneath wool blankets, dreaming peaceful dreams. Bakers sleep beside cold ovens. Farmers rest their tired hands. Children sleep deeply, their faces soft in the dark. From somewhere in the distance, an owl calls, a low, lonely, peaceful sound. Then silence returns. The wind drifts over the hills, through the trees, and around the towers. It brushes past a watchman's cloak and slips quietly along the stone path. He keeps walking, slowly, steadily, as though he is not guarding against danger, but guarding the kingdom's sleep itself. Step, pause, step, pause. The torches flicker. The night grows softer, and the watchman continues his gentle walk along the ancient castle walls, while the whole kingdom sleeps beneath the calm and silver sky. The watchman continues along the wall, slowly, calmly, letting each step fall softly onto the worn stones. Step, pause, step, pause. The castle has stood here for centuries, and these stones have felt thousands of footsteps before his. Knights, soldiers, messengers, kings. But tonight, the walls feel quiet and gentle, as though they too are resting beneath the moon. A torch flickers beside him. Its flame leans with the breeze, then straightens again. The light glows warm and golden against the grey stone, casting long, slow shadows that stretch across the path and disappear into darkness. The watchman pauses beside the torch. He places a hand lightly on the cold wall. The stone is cool, almost silky with night air. He breathes in slowly through his nose. Cool air, quiet air, night air. Then he breathes out, long and easy. Below the wall, the inner courtyard lies silent. The well stands in the center, like an old patient guardian. Buckets rest beside it, left there after the evening chores. The wooden doors of the kitchens are closed, and even the great ovens inside have grown cold. The castle is sleeping. In the stable yard, horses stand close together, their bodies warm in the dim stalls. One horse shifts its weight gently, straw rustles. Then stillness returns. The watchman listens. Listening is part of his duty, but tonight there is almost nothing to hear. No shouting, no clanging armor, no rushing footsteps. Only the slow whisper of wind passing along the towers. Far across the fields, another owl answers the first one. Two soft calls drifting across the dark countryside. The watchman smiles quietly. He begins walking again. Step, pause, step, pause. Above him the stars shine calmly, like tiny lanterns hung across the deep sky, and beneath them, the watchman continues his peaceful patrol, carrying the quiet rhythm of the night with every gentle breath. At his belt hangs a small leather pouch. It is old and worn smooth from many nights of quiet walking. Inside the pouch rests a tiny glass vial. The vial was given to him earlier that evening by the castle's alchemist, an elderly man who lived high in the eastern tower, surrounded by shelves of jars, herbs, and strange instruments made of brass and glass. Before sunset, the old alchemist had met the watchman beside the tower stair. He spoke softly, almost like someone speaking inside a library. "Tonight," he had said, "the moon will be calm, and the stones will gather dew. If you find the northern tower quiet enough, bring me a few drops." The watchman had nodded. He did not ask questions. He had learned long ago that the alchemist's experiments were never loud or dangerous. They were gentle things, patient things, made from moonlight, herbs, and the slow passing of time. And so the watchman walks tonight with the small vial resting quietly at his side. He does not hurry toward the northern tower. There is no need. The dew will come when it wishes. The night is long. A breeze moves through the battlements, sliding between the narrow stone openings and drifting across the path. The watchman's cloak lifts slightly, then settles again around his shoulders. He breathes in, cool, slow, peaceful. He breathes out. The castle walls seem to breathe with him. Below the walls, the village roofs sit peacefully beneath the moon. Thin mist lies low over the fields, and the narrow road to the river glows faintly silver in the distance. No travelers pass tonight. No lanterns move along the road. The whole land seems to have chosen sleep. The watchman turns the corner of the wall, his boot touching the stones with the same slow rhythm. Step, pause, step, pause. The night continues to deepen around him. As the watchman reaches the western corner of the wall, he slows even more. This part of the castle is always the quietest. Fewer torches burn here, and the spaces between them are long and shadowy. The moonlight spreads gently across the battlements, turning the stone path pale and silver. He walks through one pool of torchlight, then into darkness, then into moonlight again. Light, shadow, light, shadow. It feels almost like drifting through calm waves. Below the western wall stretches a wide meadow. The grass is still damp from the cooling evening air. Thin threads of mist begin to gather close to the ground, slowly drifting across the fields like soft white blankets. The watchman stops beside the parapet and rests both hands on the stone. He looks out across the quiet land. In the distance, the dark shapes of trees stand like silent guardians. Beyond them, the hills roll gently beneath the moon, and far away, the river glimmers faintly as it curves through the valley. The wind moves slowly tonight. It brushes across the meadow, through the trees, and up against the castle walls. It touches the watchman's face. Cool, soft, peaceful. He closes his eyes for a moment and takes a slow breath. In, through the nose. Out, through the mouth. The tension of the day drifts away like mist. Below him, the village sleeps deeply. No lamps burn in the windows now. Even the tavern has gone quiet, its doors closed, and its laughter faded into memory. Only one sound remains, the distant hoot of an owl. Silence again. The watchman opens his eyes and lifts his head slightly toward the stars. Above him the sky stretches wide and calm, filled with steady points of light that have watched over countless nights just like this one. He begins walking again, step pause. The castle walls welcome the rhythm of his footsteps. The watchman turns toward the northern wall. This is where the alchemist asked him to visit. The northern tower catches the moonlight longer than the others. Its stones stay cool, and by midnight, tiny beads of dew begin to gather along the edges of the battlements. The watchman knows this place well. He has stood here through rain, through wind, through snow that covered the walls in silent white blankets. But tonight the sky is clear, and the moon is bright. When he reaches the tower, he stops beside the low stone ledge. There they are, tiny droplets of dew shining faintly in the moonlight. They look almost like small pearls resting along the rough stone surface. The watchman kneels slowly. From the pouch at his belt, he removes the tiny glass vial. The glass catches the moonlight for a moment, glowing softly in his hand. Carefully, very carefully, he tilts the vial beneath one bead of dew. The droplet trembles, then slides down the stone. Plink! It falls gently into the glass. Another droplet follows, and another. Each tiny drop lands silently inside the vial, carrying with it the cool breath of the night. The watchman works slowly. There is no hurry. The night itself moves slowly, and so does he. After a few moments, the bottom of the vial holds a small pool of clear liquid. It shines faintly, reflecting the moon above the tower. The watchman corks the vial and holds it up for a moment. Inside the glass, the moon seems to shimmer. He smiles softly. Then he places the vial back into the leather pouch and rises to his feet. The experiment can wait until morning. For now, the watch continues. Leaving the northern tower behind him, the watchman continues along the wall. The dew on the stones glows softly in the moonlight. His boots move carefully, so he does not disturb the tiny shining droplets gathered along the edges. Step, pause, step, pause. The torches burn lower now. Some of them have grown small and quiet, their flames bending gently in the wind. One torch crackles softly as a drop of pitch melts and falls into the iron bracket below. The sound fades quickly. The night swallows it again. Below the walls, the castle courtyard remains still. Wooden carts rest beside the storage rooms. A ladder leans against the granary wall where someone left it after the day's work. Even the ivy climbing the stone towers seems sleepy, its dark leaves barely moving in the wind. The watchman glances toward the stables. Through the narrow window slats he can see the faint shapes of the horses inside. One horse lifts its head slowly. Its ears twitch. Then it lowers its head again, drifting back into its quiet dream. The watchman smiles to himself. Animals understand the night better than most people. They do not rush. They do not worry about tomorrow. They simply rest. Above him the stars seem brighter now. The moon has climbed higher into the sky, clearing the tallest tower and pouring its calm silver light across the entire castle. The watchman breathes in deeply again. Cool night air fills his chest. He breathes out slowly. The rhythm of the night continues around him. And somewhere far away, another owl calls through the darkness. The watchman reaches the southern tower and pauses beside a narrow stone bench built into the wall. Many guards have rested here over the years. Tonight, the bench is empty. The watchman sits down slowly, letting his cloak settle around him. For a moment, he does nothing. He simply listens. The wind brushes along the walls. The torches whisper quietly. The distant fields remain still beneath the moon. This is the calmest hour of the night, the hour when even dreams grow deeper. The watchman leans back slightly against the cold stone. He takes a slow breath in and lets it drift out again. Inhale, calm. Exhale, release. Inhale, cool air. Exhale, soft thoughts. Below the wall, the orchard trees stand in neat rows. Their branches stretch quietly toward the sky, bare silhouettes against the pale mist forming over the grass. The mist moves slowly, almost like breathing. It gathers in the low places between the trees, drifting gently across the ground. The watchman watches it for a while. There is something deeply peaceful about mist. It does not hurry. It does not struggle. It simply moves where the night carries it. After a few minutes, the watchman rises again. The bench remains silent behind him. His duty continues. Step, pause, step, pause. The castle walls stretch ahead beneath the silver moon, and the watchman walks onward through the calm and endless quiet of the night. As he approaches the eastern wall, the wind grows softer. This side of the castle is sheltered by the tall towers, and the air feels calmer here. The torches burn more steadily, their flames standing upright without bending. Below him lies the inner garden. Small rows of herbs grow there, planted by the castle cooks and the healer from the infirmary. Even at night, their scent rises faintly into the air. Mint, lavender. The watchman pauses beside the wall and breathes in slowly. The cool air carries the gentle fragrance upward. For a moment, the night smells like a quiet summer garden. He closes his eyes again and lets the scent settle in his chest. Then he opens them. Above the garden, the alchemist's tower stands tall and round. One small window glows with candlelight. The old man is still awake. The watchman imagines him inside the tower chamber, surrounded by glass bottles and parchment pages. Perhaps he is writing notes, or studying the stars through one of his strange brass instruments, or perhaps he is simply listening to the night, just as the watchman is. The watchman gives a small nod toward the glowing window. The candle flickers gently. Then the watchman turns away and continues his slow walk along the wall. The night remains deep and calm around him. Midnight passes quietly. No bells ring, no voices call. The watchman simply feels the night growing deeper, heavier, calmer. This is the hour when the world seems to sleep most deeply. Even the wind becomes slower. Even the stars appear steadier in the sky. The watchman walks past the guard barracks. Inside, several soldiers sleep beneath thick blankets. One of them snores softly, the sound rising and falling like distant waves. The watchman smiles. By daylight, those same soldiers shout, train, argue, and laugh loudly in the courtyard. But tonight, they are peaceful. Everyone is peaceful. The watchman continues toward the gatehouse. The great wooden gate stands closed, its heavy beams locked in place. The iron chains of the drawbridge hang still and silent. A lantern burns near the entrance, casting a small circle of amber light across the stone floor. He checks the gate slowly. The lock, the beam, the chains. Everything is secure. The watchman rests his hand on the wooden gate for a moment. The wood feels cool beneath his palm. Beyond the gate, the road stretches into darkness across the fields. No travelers approach. No horses ride toward the castle tonight. The kingdom sleeps safely beneath the moon. Satisfied, the watchman turns back toward the wall stairs. His boots touch the stone again with their slow, steady rhythm. Step, pause, step. The watchman climbs the narrow stair back onto the wall. Above him, the moon now stands high in the sky, bright and steady. The castle towers cast long shadows across the courtyards below, and the mist in the distant fields glows pale beneath the moonlight. The night feels endless and peaceful. The watchman begins another slow circuit along the battlements. By now, his footsteps have become part of the castle itself. Step, pause, step, pause. The walls seem to remember the rhythm. The torches flicker beside him. The stars remain steady above him. The watchman reaches the western parapet again and rests his hands on the stone. The river glimmers faintly. The hills rest quietly beyond the forest. The village roofs shine silver beneath the moon. Somewhere in the distance the owl calls once more. Then silence returns. The watchman breathes in deeply. Cool night air fills his chest. He breathes out slowly. Every breath feels heavier now, slower, calmer. This is the deepest part of the night. The hour when even time seems to slow down. The watchman lifts his eyes toward the stars. They shine quietly above the castle, just as they have for centuries. And beneath them the watchman continues his gentle walk along the walls, guarding the peaceful sleep of the kingdom while the moon watches silently from the sky. The watchman continues along the wall. Step, pause, step, pause. The rhythm of his footsteps blends into the quiet breathing of the night. By now, the torches have burned lower. Their flames are smaller, softer, like tired lanterns slowly drifting towards sleep. The light they cast is gentle and warm, barely touching the old stone before fading into darkness. The watchman does not mind the fading light. The moon is bright tonight. It washes the castle walls with a calm silver glow, revealing every rough stone, every ancient crack carved by centuries of wind and rain. These walls have watched over countless nights like this one, quiet nights, peaceful nights. The watchman pauses beside a small arrow, slit in the wall, and looks down into the narrow lane below. The lane is empty, its stones shining faintly beneath the moon. A wooden barrel sits beside the wall where it was left earlier in the evening. Nothing moves. The watchman listens carefully. Sometimes travelers arrive late. Sometimes messengers ride through the night. But tonight there is only silence. The wind drifts softly across the towers, carrying the distant smell of damp earth and river water. The scent reminds the watchman of the wide fields beyond the castle, where farmers sleep peacefully after long days of work. He breathes in slowly. Cool air, night air. Then he breathes out, letting his shoulders relax further. The watchman resumes his walk. Step, pause, step, pause. Above him, the stars remain steady, watching over the silent kingdom. As the night grows deeper and calmer, the watchman reaches the small watch house on the southern wall. It is a simple stone room with a narrow roof and a single wooden door. Inside, a small brazier glows faintly with old coals left from earlier in the evening. He steps inside for a moment. The warmth is soft, barely enough to feel, but pleasant after the cool wind of the battlements. A wooden stool stands near the wall, and beside it rests the old watch ledger used by generations of guards. The watchman opens the ledger slowly. Its pages are filled with short notes written across many years. Clear sky. Strong wind from the west. Rain after midnight. Travelers arrived near dawn. Tonight he dips the quill into the small ink jar and writes only a few calm words. Moon bright. Kingdom quiet. All secure. The ink dries slowly on the page. The watchman closes the ledger and sets the quill down again. For a moment, he sits on the stool and listens to the silence inside the small watch house. The thick stone walls hold the quiet like a blanket. No voices, only the faint crackle of cooling embers in the brazier. The watchman breathes slowly. In, calm air. Out, peaceful breath. After a short rest, He stands again and opens the door. The moon shines. The torches flicker, and the watch continues. Back on the wall, the air feels cooler. The wind has grown softer, but the deep night carries a calm chill that settles gently on the stone. Tiny beads of dew begin forming along the edges of the battlements. The watchman walks carefully beside them. Step, pause. The rhythm feels almost like a slow heartbeat. Far below, the village remains completely asleep. The rooftops lie quiet beneath the moonlight, and thin mist begins to gather over the narrow road that leads toward the river. The watchman rests his hands on the parapet and looks across the fields. In the distance, the monastery stands on its hill, pale and silent. No bells ring at this hour. Even the monks are sleeping. A soft breeze passes through the trees near the river. Leaves whisper quietly. Then the sound fades again. The watchman takes another slow breath. The cool night air fills his lungs and settles deep inside his chest. Every breath seems to make the world feel slower, calmer, quieter. Above the fields, a faint shooting star slips across the sky and disappears beyond the hills. The watchman watches it vanish. He does not make a wish. He simply smiles. Then he turns and continues his peaceful patrol along the moonlit wall. As the watchman reaches the eastern tower again, the alchemist's window still glows faintly with candlelight. The old man must still be awake. The watchman imagines him inside the round chamber, leaning over parchment pages filled with careful writing. Shelves of glass jars line the walls, each filled with herbs, oils, and powders collected from distant lands. Perhaps the alchemist is studying the stars tonight, or perhaps he is simply listening to the quiet night. The watchman stops beneath the tower and looks up. The candle flickers softly behind the window glass. For a moment, the watchman raises his hand in a small greeting. No one sees. But the gesture feels right. The castle holds many quiet friendships like this. Connections built not through words, but through shared silence. The watchman moves on. Below the tower, the small herb garden rests peacefully. The leaves of mint and rosemary shimmer faintly with dew, releasing their soft scent into the cool air. The watchman breathes it in. Mint, lavender, fresh earth. The scent relaxes him instantly. It feels like the night itself is offering a gentle gift. He continues walking. Step, pause, step, pause. The stars shine overhead. The torches whisper beside the walls, and the kingdom sleeps on beneath the calm silver sky. The night grows deeper still. This is the quietest hour before dawn, when even dreams seem heavy and peaceful. The watchman crosses the northern wall again and pauses beside the place where he collected the dew earlier. The stones now hold many more droplets, shining like tiny crystals under the moonlight. He runs a finger lightly across the cold surface. The dew feels clean and icy against his skin. Tiny drops gather at the edge of the stone and fall slowly into the darkness below. The watchman breathes in. The air here feels colder, fresher. It carries the scent of grass and river water drifting up from the valley. In the orchard below the wall, the trees stand motionless, their branches stretching quietly toward the sky. Mist gathers thicker between the rows, turning the orchard into a pale sea of drifting silver. For a moment, the watchman simply watches. Mist moves slowly, almost like breathing. The whole world seems to inhale and exhale in a calm rhythm. He matches his breathing to it. In, slow. Out, slow. His shoulders relax even further. The watchman turns away from the parapet and continues his walk, letting the peaceful rhythm of the night carry him onward. The watchman climbs the narrow spiral stair to the highest lookout platform. This is the quietest place in the entire castle. From here, the whole kingdom spreads out beneath the moon. The watchman steps onto the open platform and rests his hands on the low stone wall. The air feels colder here, but also clearer. He can see everything. The sleeping village, the silver river, the dark forest beyond the hills, the mist-covered fields stretching toward the horizon. The sky above is wide and endless, filled with quiet stars. For a long moment, the watchman simply stands there, listening, breathing, feeling the calm of the night settle deeply inside him. In, cool air; out, gentle breath. The wind brushes lightly across his cloak. Somewhere far below, a horse shifts in its stall. Then, silence again. The watchman closes his eyes briefly, letting the peaceful stillness surround him. Completely, the world feels safe. The kingdom sleeps, and the watch continues. After a while, the watchman descends the spiral stair again and returns to the wall path. The torches burn even lower now, their flames glowing orange against the dark stone. Soon they will fade completely, leaving the moon as the only light. The watchman walks past the chapel roof. Stone statues of old saints stand along the edge, their weathered faces softened by centuries of wind and rain. In the moonlight they appear calm and peaceful, as if they too are resting through the quiet hours of night. The watchman slows his steps beside them. Step, pause, step, pause. Below the chapel, baskets of bread dough rest near the kitchen door, waiting for the morning bakers. The cloth covering them rises gently where the dough slowly grows. Even bread sleeps before it wakes. The watchman smiles at the thought. He continues along the wall. The castle remains silent. The village remains dark. And the stars above shine steadily in the endless sky. Mist thickens now across the fields beyond the walls. The meadow becomes a pale white sea, with only the tops of trees rising above it like small islands. The watchman leans over the parapet and watches the mist drift slowly across the land. It moves gently, calmly, never rushing. The sight is deeply soothing. The watchman breathes in again. Cool air fills his chest. He breathes out slowly. Every breath seems slower than the last. The quiet of the night settles deeper into his bones. Somewhere in the distance, a dog barks once, then falls silent again. The sound fades quickly. The mist continues to drift. The moon continues to shine, and the watchman continues his slow and peaceful patrol along the castle walls. The watchman reaches the western gate once more. Everything remains secure. The heavy wooden beams hold the gate closed. The iron chains hang silent beside the drawbridge. The lantern near the entrance has almost burned out, its flame now only a tiny glow inside the glass. The watchman adjusts the lantern gently, trimming the wick so it will last a little longer. The small light brightens slightly, enough to guide the morning guards when they arrive. He steps outside the gatehouse again and looks down the empty road leading into the valley. Still no movement. The whole kingdom remains at rest beneath the moon. Satisfied, the watchman turns back toward the wall stairs. Step, pause, step, pause. The night slowly begins to change. The air grows slightly colder. And somewhere far beyond the eastern hills, dawn quietly prepares to arrive. The watchman climbs the northern lookout one final time. The stars above the eastern horizon begin to fade slightly, their brightness softening as the faintest pale glow appears beyond the hills. Dawn is still far away, but the night has reached its deepest point. The watchman rests both hands on the stone wall and gazes across the sleeping kingdom. Mist covers the fields. The village roofs remain dark. The river glows faintly in the distance. Everything feels peaceful, safe, still. He takes one long, slow breath. Cool air fills his chest. He holds it gently, then releases it slowly into the quiet air. In, calm, out, peace. The watchman stands there for a while longer, letting the final moments of the night settle around him. Soon the birds will sing. Soon the village will wake. But for now, the kingdom still sleeps beneath the moon, and the watchman remains on the ancient walls, walking slowly through the calm and silver silence of the night. The watchman remains on the high northern platform for a little while longer. The air here feels different now. Colder, quieter, deeper. It is the hour when the night reaches its calmest point, when even the wind seems to pause between breaths. The watchman rests his hands on the cool stone and looks across the sleeping kingdom. The mist in the meadow has grown thicker. It moves slowly across the ground like a soft white river. Only the tops of trees rise above it, dark and still. Far beyond the fields, the river glimmers faintly in the moonlight. The watchman breathes in slowly. Cool air fills his chest. He holds the breath gently, then releases it. Out. Slow, peaceful. Below the tower, the castle courtyard remains quiet. The fountain basin holds a perfect reflection of the moon. The water is so still that it looks like polished silver. Not even a ripple disturbs it. Somewhere in the distance, a single owl calls again. The sound drifts across the valley, soft and lonely, then fades into silence. The watchman listens carefully, then he smiles. Everything is as it should be. The kingdom sleeps. The walls stand strong. The night holds its calm. After a moment, the watchman turns and begins descending the narrow stone stair, returning once more to the quiet path along the castle walls. Back on the battlements, the watchman resumes his slow patrol. Step, pause, step, pause. The rhythm of his footsteps feels even softer now, almost like the quiet ticking of time itself. The torches along the wall are nearly finished. Their flames glow low and orange, sometimes shrinking to a tiny spark before growing again with the wind. Soon they will fade completely. But the moon still shines brightly overhead. Its pale light spreads across the stone path, revealing every worn step carved by centuries of guards who walked this same path before him. The watchman glances toward the village again. The rooftops remain dark. The narrow lanes lie empty. A wooden cart rests beside a house where it was left after the evening's work. Even the farm animals sleep quietly in their shelters. No doors open. No lanterns move. The whole land is wrapped in the deep calm of night. The watchman breathes slowly. In, cool air. Out, quiet breath. Each breath seems to make the world feel slower. The watchman continues walking, letting the peaceful silence guide his steps beneath the moonlit sky. As he reaches the southern tower again, the watchman pauses beside the stone bench. The mist beyond the walls has spread farther across the fields now. It drifts slowly between the orchard trees, like a calm white tide. He sits on the bench for a moment. The cold stone beneath him feels steady and grounding. The watchman looks across the orchard. The branches stand still beneath the moonlight, their dark shapes reaching quietly toward the sky. Somewhere among the trees, a fox moves silently through the mist, its shadow slipping between the trunks before disappearing again. The watchman watches the movement with calm curiosity. The fox is part of the night. Just as he is, after a few moments, the watchman leans back slightly and closes his eyes. Inhale slowly. Exhale gently. Inhale calm. Exhale tension. The silence around him feels deep and comforting. No danger, no urgency, only the peaceful rhythm of the sleeping world. The bench remains quiet behind him as he resumes his slow walk along the castle wall. The watchman continues toward the eastern side of the castle. The air here feels softer, sheltered by the tall stone towers. The wind barely moves, and the torches burn more steadily against the wall. Below him, the herb garden rests beneath the moonlight. Rows of mint, sage, and lavender glisten with tiny beads of dew. The cool night air carries their scent upward, filling the space around the wall with a faint, soothing fragrance. The watchman breathes it in deeply. Mint, fresh earth, lavender. The scent relaxes his shoulders immediately. He leans slightly over the parapet and looks down. The small garden paths glow faintly beneath the moon. Clay pots sit neatly beside the stone steps, and a watering bucket rests beside the well where someone left it earlier in the evening. Nothing has moved since then. Everything is still. Above the garden, the alchemist's tower stands tall and silent. The candle in the window has gone dark now. The old scholar must finally be sleeping. The watchman nods quietly toward the tower, another soul resting peacefully beneath the night. He continues walking, step, pause. The stars above remain steady as the watchman carries the calm rhythm of the night along the ancient walls. The watchman passes the chapel roof once more. The carved stone statues stand quietly along the edge, their weathered faces softened by moonlight. They seem almost alive in the dim light, standing patiently as they have for centuries. The watchman slows his pace beside them. Below the chapel door, the blue glass lamp glows faintly again, casting a soft circle of colored light across the stone floor. Someone inside must have lit it before going to rest. The glow is gentle, peaceful. The watchman pauses beside the door and listens. Inside the chapel, everything is silent. No footsteps, no whispers. He lowers his head slightly in quiet respect. Then he continues along the wall. The night air grows colder now. The breeze carries the faint smell of river water and damp grass from the valley below. The watchman breathes deeply. Each breath fills his chest with cool, calm air. The castle walls stretch ahead of him once more, and the quiet watch continues. The watchman reaches the northern tower again. This time, the dew along the stones shines even brighter beneath the moon. Tiny droplets line the edges of the battlements like a row of silver pearls. He leans against the wall and watches them. Some of the droplets slowly grow larger, then slip over the edge and fall into darkness. One by one, drop, pause, drop. The tiny sounds disappear before they reach the ground. The watchman listens closely. Even the smallest movements feel peaceful at this hour. The mist across the meadow has begun to thin slightly, revealing patches of dark grass beneath it. The river glows brighter now as the moon reflects across its calm surface. The watchman breathes slowly. In, cool air. Out, warm breath. His thoughts grow quiet. Nothing to rush toward. Only this moment. This wall. This calm night, the watchman turns away from the tower and continues walking along the battlements. The watchman approaches the gatehouse again. Inside, a young stable boy sleeps on a wooden bench, wrapped in a rough blanket. His cap has slipped over his eyes, and his breathing is deep and steady. The watchman steps quietly past him. He checks the gate once more. The heavy beam remains in place. The chains hang still. The drawbridge rests firmly against the outer ground. Everything remains secure. The mist has begun creeping slowly across the path, turning the road into a pale ribbon beneath the moonlight. No travelers appear. The valley remains silent. The watchman breathes in deeply. Cool air fills his lungs. He breathes out slowly. The young boy shifts slightly in his sleep, but does not wake. The watchman adjusts the blanket gently over the boy's shoulders before returning to the wall stare. Small kindnesses belong to quiet nights. And the watch continues. Back on the wall, the watchman walks beneath a sky full of steady stars. The night feels deeper now, the air colder, the silence stronger. Step, pause, step, pause. His footsteps blend into the ancient rhythm of the castle. The watchman passes the granary tower, where rows of wooden barrels sit beneath a covered roof. Their rounded shapes gleam faintly with dew, shining softly beneath the moonlight. A small mouse scurries quietly across the path, carrying a grain of wheat in its mouth. It pauses when it sees the watchman, then disappears quickly between the barrels. The watchman smiles. Even the smallest creatures are awake in the night. Above the tower roof, the moon continues its slow journey across the sky. The watchman watches it for a moment. The same moon has shone above this castle for hundreds of years, above kings, above soldiers, above watchmen just like him. The thought feels comforting. The watchman continues walking beneath its calm silver light. The eastern horizon begins to change. It is almost impossible to see at first, just the faintest hint of grey where the sky meets the distant hills. Dawn is still far away, but the night has begun its quiet turn toward morning. The stars above the eastern ridge grow slightly dimmer. The moon still shines brightly over the western towers. The watchman pauses and rests both hands on the parapet again. The village remains asleep. The mist across the meadow glows pale beneath the fading stars. Somewhere below, a horse snorts softly in its stall. Then silence returns. The watchman breathes slowly. In, calm, out, peace. The night has been long and gentle. Soon the birds will sing. Soon the village will wake. But not yet. For now, the kingdom still sleeps beneath the moon, and the watchman remains quietly at his post. The watchman climbs the northern lookout platform once more. From this height, the first pale light of dawn can be seen slowly spreading across the distant hills. It is still very faint. The sky remains dark blue above him, but the stars closest to the horizon begin to fade. The watchman rests his hands on the cold stone wall. He watches the sleeping kingdom below. The rooftops remain quiet. The mist drifts gently across the fields. The river glimmers faintly. The world feels calm, peaceful, still. He takes one last slow breath of the cool night air. In, deep and steady. Out, slow and quiet. The watchman stands there for a while longer, enjoying the final moments of the night. Soon another guard will arrive. Soon the castle will wake. But for now, the watchman remains alone on the ancient wall, beneath the fading stars, holding the last peaceful silence of the night, while the kingdom sleeps safely below. The watchman remains on the northern lookout as the sky slowly begins to change. The darkness is still deep, but the eastern horizon now carries a faint pale glow. It spreads gently across the distant hills, like the first breath of morning stretching across the land. The watchman watches quietly. He does not rush. The night is not finished yet. Below him, the mist in the fields glows softly beneath the fading stars. It drifts slowly between the orchard trees, moving like calm water across the ground. The watchman rests his arms on the cold stone parapet. The stone feels smooth and steady beneath his hands. He breathes in slowly. Cool air fills his lungs. Then he breathes out. Long, calm, peaceful. Behind him, The torches along the castle walls have almost burned out. Their flames are small now, barely more than glowing embers. Soon the sunlight will replace them. But for now, they still flicker gently beside the ancient stones. The watchman turns away from the horizon and begins descending the narrow spiral stair, returning once again to the quiet wall path below. Back on the battlements, the watchman resumes his slow patrol. Step, pause, step, pause. The sky above remains dark, but the stars closest to the eastern hills are fading slowly. The moon still shines brightly over the western towers. Its silver light spills across the courtyard, reflecting softly in the stone fountain basin below. The watchman glances down. The courtyard remains peaceful. Wooden carts rest beside the walls. A ladder leans quietly against the granary door. Even the ivy climbing the towers seems to sleep, its leaves still and silent in the early morning air. The cool scent of damp stone and fresh grass rises from the valley below. It feels clean, refreshing, the kind of air that belongs only to the final hours of night. The watchman continues walking along the wall, letting the quiet rhythm of his steps carry him toward the final moments of his watch. The watchman passes the chapel roof again. The stone saints along the edge glow softly beneath the moonlight. Their weathered faces appear peaceful, their carved robes flowing gently in frozen folds. They have watched many nights like this one. Many watchmen, many quiet hours. The watchman slows slightly as he walks beside them. Below the chapel door, the blue glass lamp has gone dark again. The colored light has faded, leaving only the pale glow of moonlight across the stone steps. The watchman pauses for a moment. He listens. Inside the chapel, everything remains silent. The calm of the room feels almost like sleep itself. Satisfied, the watchman continues along the wall. The sky above the eastern hills grows slightly lighter, still dark, but changing. The night slowly prepares to rest. The watchman approaches the southern tower once more. The stone bench beside the wall now shines faintly with dew. Tiny droplets have formed across its surface, reflecting the last silver light of the moon. He brushes the surface lightly with his hand. The droplets scatter and roll across the stone. Cool, fresh. The watchman breathes slowly. The orchard below the wall is now hidden beneath thicker mist. Only the tops of the trees rise above the pale fog, standing like quiet islands in a calm white sea. The wind moves gently through the branches. A faint rustling sound drifts upward. Then the air grows still again. The watchman looks towards the eastern sky. The pale glow has grown slightly wider now. Morning is coming, but the castle still sleeps. The watchman walks toward the eastern wall where the alchemist's tower rises above the courtyard. The round tower stands tall and silent. Its window remains dark. The old alchemist must still be sleeping after his long night of quiet study. The watchman glances up at the tower. For a moment he imagines the small glass lamp resting beside the old scholar's bed, glowing softly through the last hours of darkness. The thought brings a small smile to his face. Below the tower, the herb garden rests beneath the fading moonlight. Mint leaves shimmer with dew. Lavender flowers hold tiny droplets that sparkle faintly in the dim light. The scent rises gently in the cool morning air. Fresh, calming, the watchman breathes it in slowly. Then he continues walking along the battlements, letting the quiet scent of herbs follow him along the wall. The watchman approaches the gatehouse once more. Inside, the young stable boy still sleeps on the wooden bench. His blanket has slipped slightly from his shoulder during the night. The watchman steps quietly into the room. He adjusts the blanket gently, pulling it higher around the boy's shoulders. The boy sighs softly in his sleep, but he does not wake. The watchman checks the gate again. The beam is secure. The chains hang still. The drawbridge rests firmly in place. Everything remains safe. He steps outside the gatehouse and looks down the empty road once more. The mist now covers the road completely, turning it into a pale path, disappearing into the valley. The watchman breathes deeply. The cool morning air feels fresh and peaceful. Then he turns and climbs the stair back onto the wall. The sky above the eastern hills has grown lighter now. The stars there have nearly disappeared. The moon still hangs over the western towers, but its glow is softer than before. The watchman continues his slow walk along the wall. Step, pause, step, pause. The torches have finally burned out. Only thin trails of smoke curl upward from the iron brackets where the flames once burned. The castle now rests entirely beneath the fading moonlight and the first quiet glow of dawn. Below the wall, a rooster gives a sleepy call from somewhere in the village. The sound drifts faintly through the mist. Then silence returns. The watchman smiles softly. Morning is close now. The watchman climbs the northern lookout one final time. The sky above the hills now carries a gentle pale blue color. The darkness of the night slowly retreats toward the western horizon. The mist across the fields begins to glow faintly in the early light. The watchman rests his hands on the stone wall again. He looks out across the quiet kingdom. The village roofs emerge slowly from the shadows. The river becomes easier to see as it curves through the valley. The trees stand still beneath the soft morning sky. The watchman breathes in deeply. The air feels fresh and calm. Another peaceful night has passed. Another watch completed. He remains there for a moment longer, enjoying the final calm before the day begins. The watchman descends from the tower and returns to the courtyard below. The first signs of morning life begin to appear. A small light glows in the bakehouse window. Someone inside has begun preparing the ovens. Thin smoke rises slowly from the chimney. The smell of warm bread drifts faintly into the cool morning air. The watchman crosses the courtyard quietly. A cat stretches lazily on the kitchen step, blinking its eyes in the early light. The fountain water now reflects the pale blue sky instead of the moon. The castle slowly wakes, but the calm of the night still lingers in the air. The watchman pauses at the base of the tower stair. Above him, the sky has turned soft and pale. The moon fades slowly above the western hills. The mist across the fields drifts away as the light grows stronger. The watchman looks once more across the quiet kingdom. The night has passed peacefully. The people inside sleep comfortably, unaware of the silent watch that protected their rest. The watchman takes one final deep breath of the cool morning air. Then he turns toward the tower stair, ready to rest after his long and gentle watch. Behind him, the sun slowly begins to rise, and a new day spreads softly across the kingdom. The watchman climbs the narrow stair toward his small chamber in the lower tower. The steps are worn smooth by many years of quiet footsteps. Guards before him have walked these same stones at the end of long watches, carrying the same gentle tiredness in their legs. He moves slowly, not from hurry, but from calm. Step, pause, step, pause. Morning light begins to slip through the narrow window slits along the stair. The pale glow spreads softly across the stone walls, turning the deep shadows of night into gentle grey shapes. When he reaches the top of the stair, the watchman opens the small wooden door to his room. Inside, everything is simple. A narrow bed stands beside the wall. A folded wool blanket rests neatly across it. A clay cup sits on a wooden stool beside a small basin of water. Nothing more is needed. The watchman removes his cloak slowly and hangs it over the back of the chair. The room is quiet, peaceful. The same calm that covered the castle during the night now rests inside the chamber as well. He sits on the edge of the bed and breathes deeply. In, cool morning air. Out, slow and warm. The tiredness in his body feels gentle, not heavy. It is the kind of tiredness that comes after a peaceful night of quiet work. Through the narrow window, he can see the castle towers glowing softly beneath the early sunlight. The kingdom is waking now. But the watchman's night is finally over. He lies down slowly, pulling the wool blanket over his chest. His eyes grow heavy, his breathing slows, and soon the watchman who guarded the sleep of the kingdom begins to drift peacefully into his own. Outside the watchman's small chamber, the castle continues its gentle awakening. Morning light spreads across the courtyard, touching the stone fountain, the herb garden, and the wooden doors of the kitchens. Inside the bakehouse, the first loaves of bread are placed carefully into the warm ovens. The smell of fresh dough rises into the air, drifting slowly through the quiet passages. A cook moves quietly across the kitchen floor, careful not to make too much noise. Many people in the castle still sleep, and morning always begins softly within the walls. In the stables, a groom brushes a horse's mane with slow strokes. The horses shift gently in their stalls, their breath rising in small clouds in the cool morning air. Outside the castle walls, the village begins to stir as well. A farmer opens his door and stretches in the early sunlight. A baker's window glows warm as the oven fires are lit. A small child rubs sleepy eyes beside the doorway of a cottage. The kingdom wakes calmly, just as the night passed calmly. High in the eastern tower, the alchemist rises from his bed and crosses to the window. The morning sky glows pale blue above the hills. The old scholar looks out across the castle walls and smiles quietly. Another peaceful night has passed. Another gentle experiment completed, and somewhere in the lower tower, the watchman now sleeps deeply, wrapped in the same quiet calm he protected through the long and silent hours of the night. The watchman sleeps deeply in his small chamber. The wool blanket rises and falls slowly with each calm breath. The cool stone walls hold the quiet of the morning around him like a protective shell. Outside the window, the sky grows brighter. Birds begin their soft morning songs from the orchard trees. Their voices drift gently across the castle grounds, rising and falling like a peaceful melody. But inside the chamber, the watchman remains undisturbed. His dreams are quiet. He walks again along the moonlit battlements, just as he did through the night. In his dream, the torches glow softly, and the stars shine brightly overhead. The castle walls stretch endlessly beneath the silver sky. Step, pause, step, pause. The watchman feels no tiredness in the dream, only calm. Somewhere far away, the faint hum of the alchemist's little glass lamp echoes softly in the distance, like a gentle lullaby carried by the wind. The dream moves slowly, just like the night itself, and the watchman continues walking beneath the endless moon, guarding the peaceful sleep of the kingdom once more. In the alchemist's tower, morning sunlight now fills the round chamber. Glass jars sparkle softly along the shelves. Brass instruments glimmer faintly in the golden light. On the wooden table lies the small notebook where the alchemist recorded the results of the night's gentle experiment. The old scholar sits beside the window with a cup of warm tea. He opens the notebook and reads the careful lines written during the quiet hours before dawn. Moon calm, resonance gentle. He nods thoughtfully, The experiment was successful, but that is not what pleases him most. What pleases him is the calm of the night itself, the stillness, the silence, the peaceful rhythm shared between the walls of the castle and the man who walked them. The alchemist closes the notebook and places it beside the small glass vial containing the moonlit dew. The liquid inside glows faintly in the sunlight, holding the quiet memory of the night. Outside the tower window, the castle courtyard slowly fills with morning activity, but inside the chamber, the calm of the night remains, and the old alchemist smiles quietly as he watches the kingdom wake beneath the gentle light of the new day. Morning continues to unfold slowly across the castle grounds. Sunlight spreads gently along the stone walls, warming the battlements that only a few hours earlier were cold beneath the moon. The same path where the watchman walked through the night now glows pale gold in the rising light. In the courtyard, the fountain water moves again. A thin stream trickles into the basin, creating small ripples that break the quiet reflection of the sky. The sound is soft, peaceful, like the first whisper of a waking world. The baker opens the kitchen door and carries a wooden tray outside. Fresh bread rests upon it, warm and fragrant. Steam rises slowly from the crusts as the cool morning air touches them. Nearby, a stable boy leads a horse toward the well. The animal walks calmly beside him, its hooves tapping gently against the stones. Tap, pause, tap. The sounds of morning remain soft and unhurried. High above, swallows begin to circle around the towers. Their wings glide smoothly through the brightening sky as they greet the new day. Yet in the lower tower chamber, the watchman still sleeps deeply. The peaceful rhythm of the night remains with him. His breathing stays slow and steady, as though the calm of the moonlit walls still surrounds him. Outside, the kingdom wakes. Inside the chamber, the quiet rest of the night continues. The sun climbs slowly higher above the eastern hills. Its warm light begins to reach deeper into the castle courtyard, touching the stone steps, the ivy-covered walls, and the small herb garden below the alchemist's tower. Tiny droplets of dew sparkle across the mint leaves. The fragrance of herbs rises into the air once more. Mint, rosemary. The same gentle scents that drifted upward during the night now glow softly in the warmth of the morning sun. A kitchen maid walks carefully through the garden, gathering a few fresh leaves into a woven basket. Her footsteps are quiet against the stone path. The castle still moves slowly at this early hour. No one rushes. The calm of the night still lingers in every corner of the walls. High in the tower, the alchemist studies the small vial of dew collected from the northern wall. The liquid inside reflects the sunlight like a tiny mirror. He turns it slowly between his fingers. The experiment is complete, but the memory of the night remains inside the glass. Moonlight, silence, and the gentle footsteps of the watchman who gathered the dew. The old scholar places the vial carefully back upon the wooden table and looks out across the castle once more. Morning has arrived, but the peaceful quiet of the night has not yet fully faded. By mid-morning, the castle has fully awakened. The courtyard now carries the calm sounds of daily life. Wooden carts roll slowly across the stones. Buckets of water are carried from the well. The cooks move between the kitchen doors with baskets of vegetables and loaves of bread. Even so, the atmosphere remains gentle. The castle does not wake with noise or hurry. It wakes with patience. The watchman continues sleeping in his chamber as the sunlight creeps slowly across the floor. A thin beam of light enters through the narrow window and stretches across the stone wall. Dust motes drift lazily in the bright air. The watchman stirs slightly beneath his blanket, but he does not wake yet. The peaceful rhythm of sleep still holds him. Outside his room, footsteps pass quietly along the tower stair. Someone carries a pail of water upward, careful not to disturb those still resting. The castle understands the value of sleep, especially the sleep of the watchman who protected its quiet through the night, and so the morning continues softly around him, allowing his dreams to remain calm and undisturbed. Inside his dream, the watchman walks the castle walls once more. The night sky stretches endlessly above him, filled with bright, steady stars. The moon hangs low over the western hills, glowing softly like a silver lantern. The battlements are calm and empty. No wind, no voices, only the gentle rhythm of footsteps. Step, pause, step, pause. The torches glow with warm golden light. Their flames move slowly, bending and straightening with a quiet breath of wind. Below the walls, the village sleeps peacefully beneath the moon. Mist covers the fields like a soft blanket, and the river glimmers quietly in the distance. In the dream, the watchman feels no tiredness, only calm. As he reaches the northern tower again, he sees the tiny droplets of dew forming along the stone just as they did during the night. They shine like small pearls in the moonlight. The watchman watches them calmly. Then he continues walking beneath the endless sky, carrying the peaceful silence of the kingdom with every gentle step. Back in the waking world, the castle continues its quiet morning work. The sun now stands higher above the walls, lighting the towers in bright golden color. The shadows of the battlements stretch long across the courtyard stones. The baker's first loaves have cooled on wooden racks. The smell of fresh bread drifts through the kitchen doors and across the courtyard. A pair of pigeons fluttered down beside the fountain, pecking gently at crumbs scattered on the ground. The stable doors stand open now, allowing the horses to stretch their necks toward the warm sunlight. Everywhere, the castle breathes slowly with life, yet the calm of the night still lingers in the air, like a soft echo. In the alchemist's tower, the old scholar places the notebook of the experiment onto a shelf beside many others. Each book holds the memory of another quiet night, another gentle observation, another peaceful moment gathered beneath the moon. He looks once more across the castle grounds and smiles softly. The night was kind, and the day has begun just as gently. As the morning continues, the watchman finally begins to wake. The sunlight now reaches the edge of his bed, warming the blanket near his hands. The faint sounds of the courtyard drift softly through the stone walls. A cartwheel turning, a distant voice speaking quietly. The watchman slowly opens his eyes. For a moment he lies still, listening. The peaceful memory of the night lingers in his mind. The moonlit walls, the quiet towers, the drifting mist across the fields. He takes a slow breath. The air in the room feels warm now, touched by the sunlight. The watchman sits up slowly and stretches his arms. His long watch is finished. Another calm night has passed safely over the kingdom. He rises from the bed and moves toward the narrow window. Outside, the castle stands bright beneath the morning sky. The same walls he walked beneath the stars now shine in the warm light of day. The watchman smiles softly. Tonight, when the sun sets once more, he will return to the battlements, and the quiet watch beneath the moon will begin again. The watchman stands quietly beside the narrow window of his chamber. Morning sunlight stretches across the castle walls outside, turning the grey stone into warm shades of gold and pale amber. The same battlements he walked during the night now look completely different in the daylight. Yet he remembers every step. Step, pause. Step, pause. The memory of the quiet watch still rests gently in his mind. He opens the small wooden shutter and lets the fresh morning air drift into the room. It carries the scent of warm bread from the bakehouse, mixed with the clean fragrance of herbs growing in the courtyard garden below. Mint, lavender, fresh grass. The watchman breathes in slowly. The air feels warm now, very different from the cool, calm air of the night. But the peaceful rhythm of the watch still remains inside him. Below the tower window, the courtyard is alive with gentle movement. A cook carries a basket of vegetables across the stones. 2 stable hands lead horses toward the open paddock outside the walls. The baker places fresh loaves on a wooden cart to be carried into the village. Everything moves slowly, calmly. The castle has fully awakened, yet the quiet mood of the night still lingers like a soft echo. The watchman rests his hands on the stone window ledge. He watches the sunlight moving across the courtyard fountain, where the water now sparkles brightly instead of reflecting the moon. Birds circle above the towers, their wings flashing white in the morning light. For a few peaceful moments, the watchman simply stands there, breathing slowly and watching the life of the castle unfold beneath him. Then he turns away from the window. His long watch has ended, but somewhere deep inside him, the rhythm of the night continues. The steady footsteps, the silver moonlight, and the quiet duty of guarding the peaceful sleep of the kingdom beneath the stars. The watchman leaves his small chamber and begins walking down the narrow tower stair. Morning light reaches only part of the passage, slipping through the tall stone slits in soft, pale stripes. Between those lines of light, the steps remain cool and shaded, just as they were during the night. Step, pause, step, pause. His footsteps echoed gently along the spiral walls. The same stair carried him upward before his watch began, when the moon was rising and the torches were being lit along the battlements. Now the stair carries him down again, while the castle lives fully in the light of day. The watchman moves slowly, not tired, just calm. When he reaches the bottom of the stair, he steps into the courtyard. The air feels warmer here, filled with the soft sounds of morning life. Water splashes gently from the fountain. A pair of pigeons flutter across the stones and settle beside the well. Nearby, a young stable hand laughs quietly while brushing dust from his coat. The watchman pauses for a moment beside the fountain. Sunlight dances across the surface of the water, breaking into bright ripples that spread slowly across the basin. During the night, the same water reflected the moon like a perfect mirror. Now it reflects the blue sky. The watchman breathes in deeply. The smell of fresh bread drifts across the courtyard again, stronger now as the ovens continue their work. He smiles faintly. The kingdom is awake. And yet, beneath the sounds of the morning, he can still feel the deep calm of the night resting quietly inside the castle walls. The watchman crosses the courtyard slowly. Above him, the towers rise tall against the clear sky, and somewhere in the eastern tower, the old alchemist begins another peaceful morning of quiet study, while the watchman carries the calm memory of the night with him into the gentle hours of the day. The watchman walks slowly across the courtyard stones. The warmth of the morning sun has begun to dry the dew that settled there during the night. Each step he takes lands softly, the same quiet rhythm he carried along the battlements only hours before. Step, pause, step, pause. Near the well, a wooden bucket rests beside the rope. Someone has just drawn fresh water, and tiny drops spill over the edge, darkening the stones beneath it. The watchman pauses beside the well and looks down into the deep circle of shadow. Far below, the water reflects a small patch of the sky above. Blue, bright, completely different from the silver moon that shone there during the night. He breathes in slowly. The air is warmer now, but still fresh. The scent of baked bread and herbs continues to drift across the courtyard. From the kitchen doorway, a cook waves briefly in greeting as she carries another tray of warm loaves toward the market cart. The watchman nods in return. He is not a man of many words, especially after a long night. The quiet still rests gently inside him. Across the courtyard, the stable doors stand open wide. Sunlight pours into the stalls where the horses move calmly, their coats shining in the bright morning light. One horse lifts its head and snorts softly. The sound echoes briefly through the yard, then fades. Above the towers, the swallows continue circling in wide, smooth arcs through the sky. The watchman looks up for a moment, watching their wings glide through the warm air. For a few peaceful seconds, everything feels perfectly balanced. Night has passed. Morning has arrived, and the calm rhythm of the castle continues just as steadily as the watchman's quiet footsteps across the sunlit stones. The watchman leaves the courtyard and walks slowly through the covered stone passage that leads toward the outer wall. The corridor is cool and shaded, protected from the bright sunlight outside. Narrow windows cut into the stone allow thin beams of light to fall across the floor, creating long golden stripes along the passage. Step, pause, step, pause. His footsteps echo softly between the ancient walls. For a moment, the quiet reminds him of the night again, the long, empty battlements, the silver glow of the moon, the distant call of the owl across the misty fields. Even though morning has arrived, those peaceful memories still move gently through his thoughts. As he reaches the end of the passage, the watchman steps outside once more. The outer yard stretches before him. Here the castle walls rise tall and strong, their rough stones now glowing warmly beneath the full light of day. Guards from the morning shift stand near the gatehouse, speaking quietly while checking the drawbridge chains. One of them raises a hand in greeting. "Quiet night?" the guard asks. The watchman nods. "Very quiet." The two men exchange a small smile. Quiet nights are the best nights. The watchman continues walking slowly along the base of the wall, his eyes lifting toward the battlements above. Only hours ago, he walked that same path beneath the stars. Now the same stones shine beneath the sun. Yet somehow the calm of the night still seems to rest inside them. The watchman breathes in deeply. Warm air. Fresh bread, sunlight. The castle lives fully in the day now, but the peaceful rhythm of the night remains somewhere within the walls, waiting patiently for the moon to rise again. The watchman walks slowly along the base of the outer wall. Above him, the battlements rise high against the bright morning sky. The same path he followed beneath the moon now lies quiet in the sunlight, its stones warm and dry after the cool dew of the night. For a moment, he pauses and looks up. He can almost see his own footsteps from earlier, the slow path from tower to tower, from torch to torch. Step, pause, step, pause. The memory feels peaceful. A light breeze moves through the courtyard and across the outer yard, carrying the smell of fresh hay from the stables beyond the wall. Somewhere nearby, a horse whinnies softly as it is led toward the pasture outside the castle gate. The watchman continues walking. Ahead of him, the gatehouse stands open now. The drawbridge has been lowered, and the wooden planks rest firmly across the small moat. A merchant's cart waits beyond the gate, its wheels covered in dust from the long road through the valley. Two guards inspect the cart calmly before allowing it to pass. Nothing happens quickly here. Even trade enters the castle slowly, peacefully, just like the morning itself. The watchman stops near the gate and looks down the long road stretching toward the distant hills. In the daylight, the road looks wider than it did beneath the moon. The mist has disappeared. The fields glow green in the sunlight. Farmers move slowly between the rows of crops. Beginning their day's work, the watchman breathes deeply again. The night may be over, but the calm it carried has not disappeared. It lingers quietly in the air, in the walls, and inside the watchman himself, as he turns and walks back toward the quiet heart of the castle. The watchman leaves the gate behind him and walks back toward the inner courtyard. The path between the castle buildings is now bright with sunlight. The tall towers cast long shadows across the stone ground, but the warmth of the morning has already begun to settle over the walls. Step, pause, step, pause. Even in the daylight, the watchman's steps remain slow and calm. He passes the stables where the horses now stand outside in the paddock, stretching their legs beneath the warm sun. One of them lowers its head to drink from a wooden trough filled with fresh water drawn from the well. The gentle sound of water moving in the trough reminds the watchman of the fountain in the courtyard during the night. Then the fountain reflected the moon. Now it reflects the sky. He continues walking. Ahead of him, the herb garden glows brightly in the sunlight. The dew that sparkled across the leaves during the night has almost completely dried, leaving the plants fresh and bright beneath the warm air. A gardener kneels beside the lavender bushes, carefully trimming the small purple flowers into a basket. The watchman pauses nearby for a moment. The scent rises softly once again. Lavender, mint, the same calm fragrance that drifted through the night air now feels warmer under the sun. The watchman breathes it in slowly. His shoulders relax again. Even though the night has passed, the quiet rhythm of the watch still moves gently within him. Above the garden, the alchemist's tower window stands open now. Thin white curtains move slowly in the breeze. Somewhere inside, the old scholar continues his quiet morning, surrounded by books, glass bottles, and notes from the peaceful night. The watchman looks up briefly, then he turns and continues walking through the calm sunlight of the castle yard, carrying the silence of the night with him into the growing day. The watchman leaves the herb garden behind him and crosses the inner courtyard once more. By now the castle is fully awake, yet the morning remains calm and unhurried. The sounds of daily life move gently through the air. Wooden wheels roll slowly across the stones. A cook speaks softly with one of the servants near the kitchen door. The steady rhythm of a broom brushing the courtyard floor echoes lightly between the towers. Nothing is loud. The watchman pauses beside the fountain. Sunlight dances across the water as it spills gently into the basin. The surface ripples softly, breaking the bright reflection of the sky into shimmering waves. During the night, the same water held the moon like a quiet mirror. The watchman remembers that moment clearly. He rests his hands on the cool stone edge of the fountain and takes a slow breath. In, warm morning air. Out, calm breath. The peaceful rhythm of the night still lingers inside him, even while the castle moves through the tasks of the day. Across the courtyard, two children chase a small wooden hoop, laughing quietly as it rolls along the stones. Their footsteps echo briefly, before fading beneath the steady sounds of the busy yard. The watchman watches them for a moment. Life continues. Morning grows brighter, yet the calm feeling of the night remains somewhere beneath the surface, of everything hidden in the shadows of the towers, in the cool stone of the walls, and in the quiet memory of the watchman who walked those walls beneath the moon. After a moment, he turns away from the fountain and continues his slow walk through the sunlit courtyard, carrying the stillness of the night with him as the day gently unfolds. The watchman leaves the courtyard and walks toward the quiet cloister passage beside the chapel. Here the noise of the working castle fades again. The thick stone arches create a shaded walkway where the sunlight enters only in soft patches along the floor. Step, pause. Step, pause. His footsteps echo gently beneath the curved ceiling. Along the wall, small wooden benches rest beneath narrow windows. The same benches where monks and scholars sometimes sit to read during the afternoon now remain empty in the calm of the morning. The watchman pauses near one of the windows. Through the stone opening, he can see the orchard beyond the castle walls. The mist that covered the trees during the night has completely disappeared. Sunlight now pours across the grass, turning the orchard bright and peaceful. A few birds hop between the branches, singing quietly. Their voices drift into the cloister passage like soft music. The watchman leans lightly against the cool stone and listens. Even during the day, moments like this still carry the quiet spirit of the night. He breathes in slowly. The scent of warm stone mixes with the distant fragrance of herbs and fresh bread drifting from the kitchens. The air feels gentle, restful. After a moment, the watchman continues walking through the cloister. The chapel doors remain closed, but the small blue glass lamp beside them glows faintly in the shaded passage. The light is barely visible in the daylight, yet it still holds the same calm presence it carried during the night. The watchman nods quietly toward the door as he passes. Then he steps out from the cloister and into the sunlight again, where the bright day continues spreading slowly across the castle grounds. The watchman walks beyond the cloister and follows the narrow path that leads toward the small garden behind the chapel. This part of the castle is quieter than the courtyard. The walls here block most of the sounds from the kitchens and stables, leaving only the gentle rustle of leaves moving in the light breeze. Step, pause, step, pause. The garden is simple. A few stone benches sit beneath an old apple tree whose branches stretch softly across the path. Sunlight filters through the leaves, falling in shifting patterns across the ground. The watchman pauses beneath the tree. Several apples hang quietly among the branches, their skins glowing pale red and gold in the morning light. One apple falls gently from a branch and lands softly in the grass. Thump. The sound is small, peaceful. The watchman picks up the fallen apple and turns it slowly in his hand. Its surface still carries a few drops of dew from the night. He breathes in. The scent of fresh fruit mixes with the warm smell of sunlit grass. For a moment he simply stands there beneath the tree, enjoying the calm of the quiet garden. Beyond the garden wall, the fields stretch wide beneath the clear sky. Farmers move slowly among the rows of crops, their figures small in the distance. Life continues steadily across the land. The watchman takes a slow bite of the apple. The taste is crisp and sweet. He smiles softly. Then he continues walking along the garden path, the morning sunlight moving gently through the leaves above him as the peaceful day unfolds across the kingdom. Leaving the small garden, the watchman follows the stone path that curves back toward the central courtyard. The sun has climbed higher now, warming the towers and rooftops of the castle. Light reflects from the windows like tiny sparks across the walls. The watchman walks slowly. Step, pause. Step, pause. Even though the castle is fully awake now, his pace never changes. The calm rhythm of the night still guides his movements. As he reaches the courtyard again, the sounds of the castle surround him. A blacksmith taps gently at a horseshoe beside the stable wall. Servants carry baskets of vegetables toward the kitchen. Yet everything remains peaceful. No rushing, only the steady motion of a new day beginning. The watchman pauses once more beside the fountain. The water sparkles brightly in the sunlight, sending ripples of light across the surrounding stones. The pigeons have returned to the edge of the basin, dipping their beaks into the water. He rests his hands lightly on the stone rim. For a moment he closes his eyes. In, warm air. Out, calm breath. The peaceful night he guarded has passed into morning. Soon evening will come again, and when the sun sets beyond the hills, the watchman will climb the tower stairs once more, step onto the ancient battlements, and begin another quiet walk beneath the moon. Step, pause, step, pause. The calm watch of the kingdom will begin again. The watchman remains beside the fountain for a little while longer. The water continues to ripple gently, reflecting the bright sky above. Small circles of light shimmer across the surface, spreading outward before fading into the stone basin. The watchman watches the movement quietly. During the night, the same water was still, calm, like a silver mirror beneath the moon. Now it moves softly beneath the sunlight, alive with small waves and reflections. He breathes slowly. In, warm morning air. Out, peaceful breath. Around the courtyard, the work of the castle continues. A servant crosses the stones carrying a basket of herbs from the garden. A guard walks past the well, checking the rope and bucket before beginning his own duties for the day. Everything moves steadily. Calmly, the watchman lifts his gaze toward the towers rising above the courtyard walls. The battlements are bright now, glowing pale gold beneath the sunlight. It is hard to imagine that only a few hours ago they were wrapped in quiet darkness, lit only by the moon and the flicker of torches. Yet the watchman remembers every step of that silent walk. Step, pause, step, pause. The rhythm remains inside him. He turns away from the fountain and begins walking slowly toward the inner gate that leads to the village road. The path is warm beneath his boots. The castle walls stand tall around him. And somewhere high above, swallows glide through the clear sky, their wings flashing white as they circle the ancient towers of the peaceful kingdom. The watchman walks slowly toward the inner gate that opens toward the village road. Sunlight spills across the archway, turning the old stones warm and golden. The shadows beneath the gate are cool and calm, offering a brief shelter from the growing brightness of the day. Step, pause, step, pause. His footsteps echo softly beneath the tall arch. Beyond the gate, the village road stretches gently through the fields. The morning mist that covered the land during the night has long disappeared, leaving the grass bright and fresh beneath the sun. Farmers move slowly across the distant fields. A cart rolls along the road, its wooden wheels creaking quietly as it carries baskets of vegetables toward the market. The watchman pauses just inside the gate. He rests his hand lightly against the cool stone of the archway and looks out across the valley. During the night, the same road looked mysterious beneath the moon, fading into pale mist and distant shadows. Now the hills are clear. The trees stand bright and green. The river shines like a ribbon of light as it curves through the land. The watchman breathes deeply. Warm air, fresh earth. The peaceful rhythm of the night slowly fades into the calm rhythm of the day. Behind him, the castle courtyard continues its quiet work. Voices drift gently through the air as servants move between buildings, carrying baskets and tools. The watchman turns slowly. The tall towers rise behind him, their ancient stones glowing in the morning light. Tonight he will climb them again. Tonight he will walk the walls beneath the moon. But for now, the watchman simply stands beneath the archway, enjoying the peaceful day that has followed the long and gentle night. After a moment beneath the archway, the watchman steps out onto the village road. The ground here is softer than the stone of the courtyard. Dust rises faintly beneath his boots as he walks, and the warmth of the sun settles gently across the open fields. Step, pause, step, pause. The road curves slowly away from the castle walls, passing small wooden fences and patches of wild grass that sway lightly in the breeze. From here, the watchman can see the full height of the castle behind him. Tall towers, strong stone walls, battlements that stretch along the ridge like a silent crown above the land. Only a few hours ago he stood there beneath the stars. Now the same walls glow softly in the daylight. The watchman pauses and turns for a moment to look back. Swallows circle high above the towers. Their wings glide smoothly through the bright sky. From this distance the sounds of the courtyard fade, replaced by quieter noises of the countryside. Wind moving through grass, distant voices from farmers working the fields, and the gentle hum of bees moving between flowers. The watchman breathes in deeply. The scent of warm earth fills the air. For a while he simply walks along the road beside the castle wall, letting the calm of the morning settle around him. The rhythm of the night still moves quietly inside him, like an echo that has not yet faded. Step, pause, step, pause. The watchman smiles faintly. Even though the sun now shines brightly over the kingdom, he knows the peaceful silence of the night will return. And when it does, he will once again walk the ancient walls beneath the quiet silver light of the moon. The watchman continues along the quiet road that runs beside the castle wall. The stones of the fortress rise high to his left, their shadows falling softly across the grass. To his right, the land stretches wide and open toward the river valley. Step, pause, step, pause. The rhythm of his walking remains steady. Ahead, a small wooden bridge crosses a narrow stream that flows gently from the hills. The water moves slowly over smooth stones, creating a soft murmuring sound that drifts through the warm air. The watchman reaches the bridge and pauses. He rests his hands on the wooden rail and looks down. Clear water slips quietly beneath the boards. Sunlight sparkles across the surface, turning the tiny ripples into shifting lines of light. During the night, the same stream would have looked dark and mysterious beneath the moon. Now it glows bright and peaceful. The watchman breathes in deeply. Cool air rises from the water, fresh, clean. For a moment he simply stands there, listening to the quiet flow of the stream. A dragonfly passes above the water, its wings shining silver as it moves through the sunlight. It pauses briefly on a reed beside the bank before lifting again and gliding away across the meadow. The watchman watches it disappear into the tall grass. Then he straightens and continues across the bridge. Behind him, the castle towers remain tall and steady against the sky. Ahead of him, the village road winds gently through the fields, carrying the calm of the morning farther into the peaceful countryside of the kingdom. The watchman crosses the small wooden bridge and continues along the quiet road. The stream fades behind him, its gentle murmur blending into the soft sounds of the countryside. Tall grass sways beside the path, brushing lightly against the edges of the road as the breeze moves through the valley. Step, pause, step, pause. The rhythm of his footsteps remains calm and steady. Ahead, the road curves slowly toward a small hill where a single oak tree stands alone. Its wide branches spread across the sky, offering shade to travelers who pass along this path. The watchman reaches the tree and stops beneath it. The air here feels cooler, leaves rustle softly above his head. their shadows shifting gently across the ground as sunlight filters through the branches. He rests his hand against the rough bark of the trunk. The tree feels strong. Ancient, it has stood here for many seasons, watching the same road stretch across the land, watching farmers pass in the morning, merchants in the afternoon, and quiet travelers beneath the moon at night. The watchman looks back once more toward the castle. From this distance, the towers appear smaller but still strong, rising above the green fields like silent guardians of the valley. Swallows still circle above the battlements. Their wings flash briefly in the sunlight, before disappearing against the bright sky. The watchman breathes in slowly, warm air, fresh grass, the quiet peace of the countryside. For a few calm moments he simply stands beneath the oak tree, letting the gentle rhythm of the day move around him. Then he turns and begins walking again along the winding road, carrying the memory of the silent night and the peaceful castle walls with every steady step forward. The watchman leaves the shade of the oak tree and continues along the quiet road. The sun has climbed higher now, warming the fields on both sides of the path. Golden light stretches across the grass, and small insects drift lazily through the air above the wildflowers. Step, pause, step, pause. The road bends gently toward the river valley. From here, the watchman can see the water more clearly as it winds through the land like a shining ribbon. Sunlight glitters on its surface, and the soft murmur of flowing water rises faintly from below. He walks slowly down the slope toward the riverbank. Along the edge of the water, tall reeds sway softly in the breeze. Their thin green stems whisper together as they move, creating a quiet sound that blends with the gentle flow of the stream. The watchman stops at the water's edge. He kneels and dips his hand into the river. The water is cool, refreshing. Tiny ripples spread outward across the surface, where his fingers touch, breaking the reflection of the sky above. He lifts his hand and watches the droplets fall back into the river. Drop, pause, drop. The sound is small, peaceful. For a moment he simply sits there beside the flowing water, letting the quiet rhythm of the river carry away the last traces of the night's long watch. Above him, the sky is wide and clear. The castle towers are still visible in the distance, standing strong on the hill beyond the fields. The watchman breathes deeply. The day moves calmly forward, and somewhere far behind him, the ancient battlements wait patiently for the moon to rise once again. The watchman sits quietly beside the river for a while. The water continues its slow journey through the valley, slipping past stones and reeds, with a soft, endless murmur. Sunlight dances across the surface, breaking into bright flashes that move gently with each ripple. The watchman watches the flowing water. It moves steadily, calmly, never rushing. He breathes in slowly. The air near the river feels cooler than the open fields. It carries the scent of wet stone, fresh grass, and distant wildflowers growing along the bank. A small fish breaks the surface for a moment. Plip, tiny rings spread across the water before fading away again. The watchman smiles faintly. Everything here moves in the same quiet rhythm as the night he'd just finished guarding. After a moment, he rises slowly from the riverbank. Step, pause, step, pause. He follows the narrow path that runs beside the water. Reeds sway gently along the edge, their long leaves brushing softly against one another. Dragonflies glide above the river, their wings shining like small pieces of glass in the sunlight. Ahead, the path curves towards a small stone mill that sits beside the river's bend. Its wooden wheel turns slowly as the water pushes against its paddles. The creaking sound of the wheel drifts across the quiet valley. The watchman walks toward it calmly. The castle towers remain visible behind him on the distant hill, their ancient stones glowing softly beneath the bright sky. And though the day has fully arrived, the peaceful silence of the night still lingers quietly inside him, moving gently with every steady step along the river path. The watchman walks slowly toward the small stone mill beside the river bend. The building stands quietly beneath the open sky, its round wooden wheel turning steadily as the river pushes against its paddles. Each slow rotation creates a gentle creaking sound that drifts across the valley. Creak, pause, creak. The rhythm blends with the murmur of the flowing water. The watchman approaches the mill and rests his hand lightly against the cool stone wall. The stones are rough and weathered, shaped by many seasons of rain and wind. A small wooden door stands open. Inside, sacks of grain rest neatly against the walls, waiting to be ground into flour. The miller works slowly beside the grinding wheel, humming a quiet tune as he moves. The watchman nods in greeting. The miller returns the nod with a warm smile, but neither of them speaks. There is no need for words in the calm of the morning. The watchman steps back outside and walks around the mill toward the riverbank again. From here, the valley stretches wide beneath the clear sky. The fields glow green and gold in the sunlight, and small birds move across the grass in quick fluttering motions. The castle still stands in the distance behind him, tall, quiet, patient. The watchman looks back at it for a moment. Those walls held the silence of the night only hours ago. They will hold it again when the moon rises. He breathes in slowly. The smell of fresh grain drifts from the mill behind him, mixing with the cool scent of the river. Then he turns and continues along the winding path beside the water, letting the peaceful rhythm of the valley carry him gently through the growing day. The watchman leaves the mill behind and follows the narrow path as it winds along the riverbank. The water flows beside him with a steady, soothing sound. Sunlight glimmers across the surface, and the slow current carries fallen leaves and small twigs gently downstream. Step, pause, step, pause. His footsteps fall softly on the dirt path. Ahead, the valley opens wider. Fields stretch across the land in long green rows, and a few farmers work quietly among the crops, their movements slow and steady beneath the bright sky. The watchman pauses near a patch of tall grass. A group of butterflies drifts through the air above the wildflowers. Their wings move lightly, rising and falling in calm patterns as they float from one blossom to another. The watchman watches them for a moment. Everything here moves with patience, with calm, just like the night. He kneels briefly beside the river again and runs his hand across the cool surface of the water. Tiny ripples spread outward, reflecting the sky and the drifting clouds above. Drop, pause, drop. The sound of water falling from his fingertips is quiet and soothing. He stands once more and continues walking along the path. Behind him, the stone mill wheel turns slowly beside the river bend. Ahead of him, the valley stretches toward distant hills that rise gently beneath the clear blue sky. And far in the distance, the castle still stands on its hill, waiting patiently for the quiet return of evening and the soft silver light of the moon. The watchman follows the river path as it curves gently through the valley. The land here feels peaceful and open. Tall grasses move in slow waves beneath the breeze, and small birds glide across the sky above the fields. Step, pause, step, pause. His pace remains the same calm rhythm he carried along the castle walls. As he walks, the path begins to climb slightly toward a low hill that overlooks the river. The watchman follows it slowly, letting his breath move steady and calm with each step. At the top of the hill, he stops. From here, he can see the entire valley spread before him. The river curves through the fields like a shining ribbon. The stone mill rests quietly beside the bend. Farmhouses dot the distant land where farmers begin their day's work. And far beyond it all, the castle rises above the countryside, its towers bright in the sunlight. The watchman rests his hands on his belt and looks out across the view. He breathes deeply. Warm air fills his lungs. The peaceful morning stretches across the kingdom. Yet somewhere in his memory, the quiet silver night still lingers. The torches flickering against the stone walls, the drifting mist across the fields, and the slow footsteps along the ancient battlements. Step, pause, step, pause. Soon evening will return, and when it does, the watchman will climb the tower stair once again, ready to walk the calm and silent walls beneath the moon. The watchman remains on the small hill for a little while. The valley stretches quietly before him, bright beneath the growing warmth of the sun. The river moves slowly through the land, turning gently as it follows the curves of the fields. A soft breeze drifts across the hilltop. It moves through the tall grass with a quiet whisper. The watchman closes his eyes for a moment and breathes in deeply. Warm air, fresh earth. The peaceful morning carries a calm feeling very different from the quiet stillness of the night, yet somehow it feels connected. The same land, the same slow rhythm of time moving gently forward. After a moment, the watchman opens his eyes again. Below him, the path continues along the hill before descending toward a small grove of trees beside the river. Their branches form a patch of cool shade where travelers often stop to rest during the heat of the day. The watchman begins walking again. Step, pause, step, pause. His boots press softly into the earth as he moves down the slope. Behind him, the castle towers still rise proudly above the fields. From this distance, they look calm and silent, almost like part of the hills themselves. Yet the watchman knows those walls well. He knows every tower, every stair, every quiet path along the battlements, and when the sun sets later in the evening, he will return there once again to begin another gentle watch beneath the stars. The watchman reaches the small grove of trees beside the river. The shade here feels cool and peaceful after the bright sunlight of the open fields. Tall branches stretch overhead, their leaves moving softly as the breeze passes through them. Sunlight slips between the leaves in small golden patches that dance across the ground. The watchman steps into the shade and sits on a smooth stone near the riverbank. The water flows quietly beside him. Its gentle sound blends with the rustling leaves above. For a moment, he simply listens. No hurry, no noise, only the calm rhythm of the valley. A pair of ducks glide slowly across the river, leaving soft ripples behind them as they move through the water. The watchman watches them drift past the reeds and disappear around the bend. He breathes in slowly. The scent of cool water and damp earth rises from the riverbank. Peaceful, relaxing, the kind of quiet that invites the body to rest. The watchman leans back against the tree trunk and lets the calm of the grove settle around him. The long night has passed. The bright day continues. And somewhere far above the valley, the castle walls still stand patiently, waiting for the watchman to return when the gentle silver moon rises once more. The watchman rests quietly beneath the trees beside the river. The shade moves gently across the ground as the branches sway above him. Small patterns of light drift slowly over the grass, shifting softly with each passing breeze. The bark feels rough and steady against his shoulders. The river continues its slow journey beside him. Water moves around the smooth stones with a quiet murmur. The sound is soft, endless. He closes his eyes for a moment and lets the sound of the water fill the silence around him. In, slow breath. Out, gentle breath. Above him, leaves rustle softly as a bird lands on a nearby branch. The bird tilts its head for a moment, then begins to sing a small, clear melody that drifts through the shade. The watchman listens. No loud voices, no hurried steps, only the river, the breeze, and the gentle song of the bird. After a while, he opens his eyes again. Sunlight glows softly beyond the trees, where the open fields begin. The day continues peacefully across the valley. But the watchman knows that time moves slowly here. Morning will pass. Afternoon will follow. And eventually, the quiet blue evening will return. When it does, the castle towers will once again glow beneath the moon, and the watchman will walk the silent walls as he always has. Step, pause, step, pause. The calm watch of the kingdom will begin again beneath the stars. The watchman rises slowly from his resting place beside the tree. The river continues flowing gently beside him, its surface bright beneath the midday sun. The ducks that passed earlier have disappeared around the bend, leaving only the soft movement of water behind. He stretches his arms slightly. The cool shade of the grove still feels calm and peaceful, but the warmth of the day now calls from beyond the trees. Step, pause, step, pause. He begins walking along the river path again. The narrow trail follows the curve of the water through the valley, sometimes dipping close to the reeds, and sometimes rising slightly above the bank, where the view opens wide across the fields. Grasshoppers leap softly from the path as he walks. Tiny splashes appear where fish break the surface of the river for a brief moment. The watchman walks without hurry. He has no urgent task now. The night's duty has passed. The quiet day stretches ahead. Above the valley, clouds drift slowly across the sky, their soft shapes moving lazily in the warm air. Its tall towers glow pale against the bright sky. Soon the sun will begin its slow journey toward the western hills. Shadows will grow longer. The light will soften. And when evening finally arrives, the watchman will return to those ancient walls once again. Until then, he walks peacefully beside the river, letting the gentle rhythm of the valley carry him through the quiet hours of the day. The watchman follows the river path as it curves gently through the valley. The grove of trees slowly fades behind him, and the open countryside spreads wide once again. Sunlight stretches across the tall grass, turning the tips of each blade into thin lines of gold. Step, pause, step, pause. The path rises slightly as it moves along the riverbank. From here, the watchman can see farther across the valley than before. Farmhouses sit quietly among the fields. Thin trails of smoke rise lazily from a few chimneys where midday meals are being prepared. The river continues its calm journey beside the road, its surface glimmering softly beneath the bright sky. The watchman walks slowly to the crest of the small rise and stops for a moment. From here, the castle stands clearly in the distance. Its towers shine pale against the blue sky, and the long stone walls stretch along the ridge, like a quiet guardian watching over the land. Only a few hours ago, those same walls were wrapped in darkness beneath the moon. Now they glow peacefully in the daylight. The watchman rests his hands on his belt and takes a slow breath. Warm air, soft wind, the scent of grass and distant fields. Everything feels steady and calm. He knows the day will pass just as quietly as the night before it. And when evening comes, the castle will once again grow silent as shadows stretch across the walls and the sky begins to darken. Then the torches will be lit, the stars will appear, and the watchman will climb the tower stairs once more. Step, pause, step, pause. The gentle watch beneath the moon will begin again, just as it always has for the peaceful kingdom. The watchman stands for a while on the small rise, looking out across the wide valley. The river shines brightly as it curves through the fields, and the distant hills appear soft and blue beneath the clear sky. A warm breeze drifts across the hilltop. It moves slowly through the tall grass, bending the green blades in gentle waves that roll across the land. The watchman breathes in deeply. The air carries the scent of sun-warmed earth and wild flowers blooming quietly beside the road. For a moment, he simply watches the movement of the grass. The calm of the valley feels endless. Eventually, he begins walking again. Step, pause, step, pause. The path now leads gently downhill toward a quiet meadow beside the river. A few sheep graze peacefully there, moving slowly through the grass, while a shepherd rests beneath the shade of a nearby tree. The watchman passes them quietly. The shepherd lifts a hand in greeting without speaking. The watchman nods in return. Words feel unnecessary in the peaceful afternoon. The river flows beside them, steady and calm, just as it did during the night. Far behind them, the castle towers still rise above the hill, watching silently over the valley. The watchman glances back one more time. He knows those walls well, and when the sun begins to fall toward the western hills, he will return there again. Until then, he walks slowly through the quiet meadow, letting the warm afternoon carry him gently forward through the peaceful land of the kingdom. The watchman walks slowly through the quiet meadow. The grass here is tall and soft, brushing gently against his boots as he follows the narrow trail beside the river. The sheep graze calmly nearby, their slow movements blending with the peaceful rhythm of the afternoon. Step, pause, step, pause. The shepherd remains beneath the shade of the tree, leaning back against the trunk while watching over the small flock. His hat rests low over his eyes as he enjoys the still warmth of the day. The watchman continues along the path. The river beside him moves lazily now, its surface smooth and bright beneath the sun. Occasionally a breeze ripples across the water, breaking the reflection of the sky into soft, shimmering waves. Dragonflies hover above the reeds. Their wings glimmer like tiny pieces of glass in the sunlight as they drift over the quiet water. The watchman pauses near the riverbank and looks across the meadow. Beyond the fields, the distant hills rise gently along the horizon. Thin white clouds drift slowly above them, moving so quietly that it is almost impossible to see their motion. He breathes in slowly, warm air, the faint scent of river water carried by the breeze. The peaceful afternoon stretches across the valley like a calm blanket. Behind him, the castle remains visible on the hill, its towers standing tall and patient beneath the bright sky. The watchman smiles faintly. He knows that the day will slowly begin to soften. Shadows will grow longer. The light will turn golden. And when evening finally arrives, he will walk those silent battlements once again beneath the quiet silver moon. Step, pause, step, pause. Until then, he continues across the meadow, letting the calm rhythm of the land guide his steps through the warm and peaceful afternoon. The watchman continues walking slowly through the meadow. The afternoon sun now hangs high above the valley, bathing the land in warm golden light. The grass sways gently around him, moving softly with the breeze that drifts down from the distant hills. Step, pause, step, pause. The path leads him closer to a quiet bend in the river, where the water widens and slows. Here the current becomes smooth and reflective, like a long mirror stretching through the valley. The watchman pauses at the edge of the bank. He looks down at the water. The bright sky reflects clearly on the surface, broken only by small ripples where insects touch the water for a moment, before lifting again into the air. For a few peaceful breaths, he simply watches. The river never stops moving, yet it never seems hurried. It travels calmly, just as the hours of the day travel calmly toward evening. The watchman kneels beside the bank and dips his fingers into the water once more. The river feels cool even beneath the warm sunlight. Tiny circles spread outward from where his hand touches the surface. Ripples move gently across the reflection of the sky. Then they fade again. He rises slowly and wipes the water from his hands. Across the meadow the sheep continue grazing, while the shepherd remains beneath the shade of his tree. The quiet afternoon continues to stretch across the valley. Behind the watchman, far above the fields, the castle still stands strong on its hill. The towers glow softly in the sunlight, and though the day feels warm and peaceful now, the watchman knows that the calm silver night will return again. When it does, the torches will flicker along the battlements, the stars will fill the sky, and his quiet footsteps will once again echo across the ancient walls of the sleeping kingdom. Step, pause, step, pause. The watchman leaves the riverbank and follows the narrow path as it climbs gently away from the water. The afternoon has grown quieter now. The breeze has softened, and the tall grass moves only slightly beneath the warm sun. The valley feels peaceful and still, as if the entire land is resting beneath the calm light of the day. Step, pause, step, pause. The watchman walks without hurry. The path rises slowly toward a small ridge where a line of old stones marks the edge of the meadow. From there the view stretches even farther across the countryside. When he reaches the ridge, he pauses again. Below him, the river winds through the fields like a shining ribbon of silver and blue. The sheep move slowly across the grass, their quiet shapes scattered across the green meadow. The shepherd still rests beneath the tree. Above, the sky is wide and clear. A few clouds drift slowly toward the western hills, where the sun will eventually begin its long descent. The watchman rests his hands lightly on one of the old stones along the ridge. The stone feels warm beneath the sunlight. For a moment, he simply looks out across the land. The peaceful valley, the quiet farms that dot the countryside. And far away behind him, the castle towers still stand tall above the hilltop. The watchman breathes deeply. Warm air, the scent of grass, the faint sound of the river moving through the valley. Everything feels calm. Steady, just as it did beneath the moon during the night. Soon the light will begin to change. Shadows will stretch across the fields. And when the evening finally arrives, the watchman will return to the castle walls once more to begin his quiet walk beneath the stars. Step, pause. The watchman stands quietly on the ridge for a long moment. The afternoon sun has begun its slow journey toward the western hills, and the light across the valley has grown softer. The tall grass below glows with a warm golden color as the breeze moves gently across the meadow. He begins walking again. Step, pause, step, pause. The path along the ridge follows the curve of the hill. From here the watchman can see the river shining far below, and the distant farms scattered across the countryside. The world feels calm, unhurried. A hawk circles slowly in the sky above the valley, its wings steady as it glides through the warm air. The watchman watches it for a moment as it drifts quietly across the blue sky before disappearing beyond the hills. The light of the afternoon continues to soften. Shadows stretch farther across the fields. The watchman walks slowly down the far side of the ridge, where the path begins to curve back toward the castle hill. Step, pause, step, pause. In the distance, the towers of the castle are still visible above the fields. Their stone walls glow pale beneath the changing sunlight, standing silent and patient, as they have for many years. The watchman knows that the long day will pass just as gently as the quiet night before it. Soon the sun will touch the hills. The sky will turn shades of orange and violet, and the peaceful valley will slowly prepare for another calm evening. When that time comes, the watchman will climb the familiar tower stair again, step out onto the ancient battlements, and begin his slow and steady walk beneath the quiet silver light of the moon. Step, pause. Step, pause. The gentle watch of the kingdom will begin again. The watchman walks down the gentle slope beyond the ridge. The path curves slowly through the grass, guiding him back toward the hill where the castle stands. The sunlight has begun to soften even more now, turning the fields into long waves of gold and green. Step, pause, step, pause. The quiet afternoon stretches calmly around him. In the distance, the river glimmers beneath the changing light, reflecting the sky as it slowly begins to shift toward the colors of evening. It carries the faint scent of warm hay and distant farms, preparing for the end of the day. The watchman pauses halfway down the hill and looks toward the castle. The towers appear larger now as he draws closer. Their tall stone walls catch the sunlight along their edges, while the shadows beneath the battlements grow longer. Soon the torches will be lit there again. Soon the walls will fall silent. The watchman continues walking toward the castle hill. The light of the afternoon now begins to soften into the early colors of evening. Long shadows stretch across the fields, and the golden glow of the sun slowly drifts closer to the distant western hills. Step, pause. Step, pause. The path leads him through a quiet stretch of meadow where tall grass bends gently beneath the breeze. Each movement of the grass creates a slow wave that rolls across the field like the surface of calm water. The watchman walks without hurry. He knows the rhythm of the day as well as he knows the rhythm of the night. Morning rises, afternoon stretches wide. Evening slowly returns. Ahead of him, the castle grows larger as he approaches the hill. The tall towers now stand clearly against the sky, their ancient stones glowing softly beneath the warm light of the setting sun. Smoke rises gently from the chimneys within the walls as the kitchens prepare the evening meal. The watchman pauses near the base of the hill and looks up. From here, he can see the long path that climbs toward the castle gate, the same path he has walked many times before, returning from the quiet countryside after a peaceful day. He breathes in slowly. The air has begun to cool slightly as the sun lowers toward the horizon. Soon the sky will change. The blue will fade into soft orange and violet, and when darkness returns, the watchman will once again climb the tower stair, step onto the silent battlements, and begin his slow walk beneath the quiet silver moon. Step, pause, step, pause. The calm watch of the kingdom waits patiently for the night. The watchman begins the slow climb up the path toward the castle gate. The hill rises gently before him, and the warm evening light stretches across the grass on either side of the road. The sun now hangs low above the western hills, casting long golden shadows across the land. Step, pause. Step, pause. His footsteps press softly into the dusty path. Behind him, the valley glows beneath the fading sunlight. The river shines like a ribbon of fire for a moment where the sun touches its surface. The watchman pauses halfway up the hill and looks back. The fields stretch quietly into the distance. Farmers begin gathering their tools. Smoke rises lazily from cottage chimneys. The peaceful day slowly prepares to rest. He breathes in deeply. The evening air feels cooler now, fresh, calm. The watchman turns again toward the castle. The tall gatehouse stands before him. Its heavy wooden doors open as villagers pass through the entrance, carrying baskets and carts after the day's work. The guards at the gate nod quietly as he approaches. They know him well. Soon his watch will begin again. The watchman steps beneath the stone archway and enters the castle grounds once more. Inside the courtyard, the light of evening glows warmly across the towers and walls. Servants move calmly between buildings, and the scent of cooking fires drifts gently through the air. The watchman crosses the courtyard slowly. Above him, the battlements wait in silence. The sky grows softer. Soon the stars will return, and when they do, the watchman will once again walk the ancient walls beneath the calm and silver night. Step, pause, step, pause. The watchman crosses the castle courtyard as evening settles gently over the walls. The golden light of the setting sun rests along the towers, turning the stone warm and soft in color. Shadows stretch across the courtyard floor, growing longer with every passing moment. Step, pause, step, pause. The watchman walks slowly toward the tower stair. Around him, the quiet work of evening continues. Servants carry baskets from the kitchens, and the last carts roll through the gate before nightfall. The sounds remain calm and gentle, never breaking the peaceful rhythm of the castle. Above the walls, the sky slowly begins to change. The bright blue fades into deeper shades of amber and violet as the sun lowers behind the distant hills. The watchman pauses beside the fountain once more. The water moves softly in the basin, reflecting the glowing colors of the evening sky. Only a few ripples disturb the reflection, spreading slowly across the surface before disappearing again. He breathes in deeply. The air has cooled. The scent of wood smoke drifts faintly from the kitchens. Soon the torches along the battlements will be lit. Soon the quiet of night will return. The watchman turns toward the tower stair and begins climbing. Step, pause, step, pause. The narrow spiral rises slowly through the stone tower. With each step, the sounds of the courtyard fade behind him. Above, the first faint stars begin to appear in the darkening sky. When he reaches the top of the stair, the watchman steps out onto the ancient battlements once more. The wind moves softly across the walls. The valley grows quiet beneath the deepening dusk, and the watch begins again beneath the calm and silver night. The watchman steps onto the battlements as the last light of day fades behind the western hills. The sky above the castle has begun to deepen into a soft blue twilight. A few early stars appear quietly above the towers, shining faintly as the evening settles across the valley. A guard near the stair lights the first torch. The flame flickers gently. Golden light spreads across the stone wall, casting long-moving shadows that dance along the battlements. The watchman begins his slow walk. Step, pause, step, pause. The familiar path stretches before him. Cold stone beneath his boots, the quiet valley resting below. Everything feels exactly as it did the night before. He walks past the first tower and pauses beside the parapet. Below, the countryside slowly disappears into shadow. The river becomes a thin silver line beneath the growing darkness, and the fields fade into soft shapes beneath the rising moonlight. The watchman breathes slowly. In, cool night air. Out, calm breath. Behind him, more torches are being lit along the wall. Their warm glow spreads across the battlements, pushing back the deepening darkness with quiet flickering light. The watchman continues his patrol. Step, pause, step, pause. The castle grows silent again as the evening settles fully across the land. Far away, an owl calls softly from the dark forest beyond the fields, and beneath the growing canopy of stars, the watchman walks the ancient battlements once more, guarding the peaceful sleep of the kingdom through another calm and quiet night. The watchman continues along the moonlit battlements. The sky has grown darker now, and more stars slowly appear above the towers. The moon rises gently beyond the eastern hills, casting a soft silver glow across the valley below. Step, pause, step. The torches flicker beside the wall, their flames moving softly in the night breeze. Each torch casts a warm circle of golden light that fades slowly into the cool blue shadows of the night. The watchman pauses beside one of the towers and looks out across the land. Below the castle, the village has grown quiet again. The windows glow faintly with candlelight. Smoke rises slowly from a few chimneys before disappearing into the dark sky. Beyond the village, the river reflects the moon like a long ribbon of silver winding through the fields. The watchman breathes in slowly. Cool night air fills his chest. The scent of damp grass and distant water drifts up from the valley. Everything feels calm, steady, peaceful. The same quiet rhythm that filled the night before now settles across the land once again. The watchman turns and continues walking along the wall. Step, pause, step, pause. Above him, the stars shine steadily. The torches glow warmly against the stone, and the ancient castle rests peacefully beneath the silent watch of the night. The watchman continues his slow patrol along the ancient wall. The moon has now risen higher into the sky, casting a gentle silver light across the battlements. The torches burn steadily beside the stone path, their warm glow blending softly with the pale moonlight. Step, pause, step, pause. The castle is quiet. Only the faint whisper of the wind moves along the towers, brushing softly against the watchman's cloak as he walks. He pauses beside a narrow opening in the wall and looks out across the sleeping countryside. Below the castle, the village has fallen completely silent now. The candle lights in the windows have dimmed. The small roads between the cottages lie empty beneath the moon. Even the river seems calmer tonight, its silver surface barely disturbed as it moves slowly through the valley. The watchman breathes deeply. Cool night air, the scent of grass and distant trees, the quiet calm of the kingdom resting peacefully beneath the stars. Far across the fields, an owl calls once again. The sound drifts softly through the darkness before fading into silence. The watchman smiles faintly. Everything is as it should be. He turns and continues walking along the battlements. Step, pause, step, pause. The torches flicker gently. The moon climbs slowly across the sky, and the watchman walks on, guarding the peaceful sleep of the kingdom through the calm and endless hours of the night. The watchman moves slowly along the northern stretch of the battlements. Here the wall is quieter than the others. Fewer torches burn in this section, and the moonlight spreads freely across the stone path, bathing the old walls in a pale silver glow. Step, pause, step, pause. His footsteps sound soft against the ancient stones. The watchman pauses beside the northern tower, where the wind moves more freely along the ridge. The breeze carries the cool scent of the valley below, damp grass, river water, and distant forest. He rests his hands on the stone parapet and looks out across the land. The fields lie silent beneath the moon. Thin strands of mist have begun to gather again across the meadow near the river, drifting slowly across the ground like soft white clouds. The watchman watches the mist move gently through the valley. It rises, it fades, it shifts quietly across the sleeping land. He breathes in slowly. In, cool night air. Out, calm breath. The rhythm of the night settles deeper around him. Behind him, the torches flicker softly in the breeze. Above him, the stars shine brightly across the clear sky. The watchman straightens and begins walking again. Step, pause, step, pause. The long, quiet watch continues beneath the steady moonlight, while the castle and the kingdom rest peacefully through another calm and silent night. The watchman continues along the quiet northern wall. The moon now shines higher above the castle towers, spreading its calm silver light across the battlements. The mist in the valley has grown thicker, drifting slowly across the fields like a pale blanket resting on the earth. Step, pause. Step, pause. The torches burn softly behind him, their warm glow fading gradually as he walks deeper into the quiet moonlight. Here, the stern path feels almost completely silent. The watchman pauses beside the edge of the wall once more. Below, the river glimmers faintly beneath the mist, reflecting small fragments of moonlight through the drifting fog. The fields beyond have grown still and dark, their shapes softened by the calm night air. He listens carefully. The world feels very quiet. No carts, no voices, only the distant whisper of wind moving through the valley. And then, far away, the gentle call of another owl. The sound floats across the fields before fading into the night. The watchman breathes slowly. In, cool air. Out, peaceful breath. Everything remains calm. The kingdom sleeps safely beneath the stars. He turns and continues his watch along the wall. Step, pause. Step, pause. The ancient stones beneath his feet have felt these same quiet footsteps for generations. And tonight, just as on countless nights before, the watchman walks the silent battlements beneath the moon, guarding the peaceful dreams of the sleeping kingdom. The watchman reaches the far corner of the northern wall, where the battlements turn toward the western towers. Here the wind moves a little more freely along the ridge. It slips between the stone openings of the wall and brushes softly against the watchman's cloak. Step, pause, step, pause. He pauses beside the tower and looks across the valley once more. The moon now stands high above the hills, casting a bright silver glow across the fields below. The drifting mist has settled thicker around the riverbanks, turning the water into a long, pale ribbon that disappears into the quiet distance. The watchman rests his hands on the cool stone. The wall feels steady beneath his palms. Ancient, strong. These stones have watched over the kingdom for many generations, just as the watchmen have walked these same paths through the quiet hours of the night. He breathes in slowly. Cool air fills his chest. The scent of damp grass rises from the valley below. Everything remains calm. The torches flicker gently behind him. The stars shine clearly above. The watchman turns and begins walking again along the western wall. Step, pause, step, pause. Far below, the village sleeps peacefully. The river moves quietly through the mist, and beneath the calm silver light of the moon, the watchman continues his slow and steady patrol, guarding the kingdom through another peaceful night beneath the endless sky. The watchman walks along the western wall of the castle. The moonlight here spreads wide across the battlements, touching the stone towers and the narrow path that runs between the parapets. The torches flicker softly in the wind, their warm glow blending gently with the pale silver light of the moon. Step, pause, step, pause. His footsteps remain slow and steady. The night has grown deep now. Most of the valley below lies wrapped in quiet shadow, while the higher hills catch faint lines of moonlight along their ridges. The watchman pauses beside one of the western towers. From this point, he can see the river winding far across the land. The mist that settled earlier now drifts slowly along the water, moving like quiet clouds across the valley floor. He listens carefully. The night is calm. Only the wind moves through the distant trees. For a moment, even the owls remain silent. The watchman breathes in slowly. In, cool night air. The quiet of the night settles deeper around him. Behind him, the castle courtyard rests in darkness, broken only by a few small lanterns glowing near the tower doors. Everything sleeps. The watchman turns again and continues among the battlements. Step, pause, step, pause. Above him, the stars stretch across the sky like scattered lights. Below him, the peaceful kingdom dreams beneath the steady silver glow of the moon. The watchman continues along the western battlements. The stone beneath his boots feels cool and smooth from many years of footsteps. Generations of guards have walked this same quiet path beneath the stars, carrying the same calm duty through the silent hours of the night. Step, pause, step, pause. The moon now stands almost directly above the castle towers. Its light spills across the rooftops and towers, turning the entire fortress pale and silver against the darkness of the surrounding land. The watchman slows as he reaches the small lookout platform at the edge of the wall. From here, the view stretches across nearly the entire valley. The river curves quietly through the fields. The distant forest forms a dark line along the horizon, and the village below rests peacefully beneath the moon. He leans gently against the parapet. For a few moments he simply watches the quiet land. The mist drifts slowly across the low ground near the river. The wind brushes softly through the trees. The stars shine steadily above the world. The watchman breathes slowly. In, cool night air. Out, calm breath. The rhythm of the night feels deep and steady now, the kind of silence that seems to stretch forever. After a moment, he straightens and begins walking again along the ancient wall. Step, pause. The quiet watch continues beneath the endless sky, while the kingdom sleeps safely beneath the soft silver glow of the moon. The watchman leaves the western lookout and continues along the long stretch of battlements that leads toward the southern tower. The night has settled deeply across the land now. The air feels cooler, and the wind moves more softly along the walls. Step, pause, step, pause. His footsteps echo faintly against the stone. The torches along this section burn lower than before, their flames smaller and calmer as they sway gently in the breeze. Their warm glow spreads across the rough walls before fading into the quiet shadows of the night. The watchman pauses beside a narrow opening in the battlement. From here he can see the orchard below the castle wall. The trees stand silent beneath the moonlight, their branches casting delicate shadows across the grass. The mist that gathers near the river has begun drifting toward the orchard, slowly filling the spaces between the trees. The watchman watches the mist move quietly. It rises, drifts, then fades again. The world feels very still. He breathes slowly. In, cool air. Out, peaceful breath. Somewhere far beyond the orchard, a dog barks once in the distant village. The sound fades quickly into the night. The watchman smiles faintly. Everything remains calm. Everything remains safe. He turns and continues his walk along the wall. Step, Pause. The quiet patrol continues beneath the bright moon and steady stars, while the sleeping kingdom rests peacefully below. The watchman walks steadily along the southern wall of the castle. The night air here feels calm and cool, drifting gently along the battlements. The torches flicker quietly beside the path, their small flames glowing warmly against the ancient stones. Step, pause, step, pause. The moon now hangs high above the valley, bright and steady in the clear sky. Its silver light spreads across the rooftops of the castle and the fields beyond the walls. The watchman pauses near the southern tower and rests his hands on the parapet. Below him, the orchard stretches across the slope beneath the castle. The mist has gathered more thickly there now, weaving slowly between the trees like pale ribbons moving through the darkness. The branches stand still. The leaves barely move. Everything is quiet. The watchman breathes slowly. In, cool night air. Out, calm breath. From this height, the entire valley feels peaceful and safe beneath the moon. The river glimmers faintly through the mist. The village remains silent. Only the distant whisper of the wind moves across the land. After a moment, the watchman straightens again. His watch is far from over. The night still has many quiet hours to pass. He turns and continues walking along the southern battlements. Step, pause. Above him the stars shine clearly across the sky, and beneath their quiet light, the watchman continues guarding the calm and silent kingdom through the deep hours of the night. The watchman continues his slow patrol along the southern battlements. The night has grown very quiet now. Even the breeze has softened, moving gently across the towers and slipping quietly between the stone openings of the wall. Step, pause. Step, pause. The torches burn lower than before. Their flames sway softly, casting long golden shadows across the rough stones. In some places the moonlight grows stronger than the torchlight, bathing the battlements in a calm silver glow. The watchman walks toward the southern corner tower. From here, the land stretches far toward the distant hills. The mist in the valley moves slowly, drifting across the fields like a quiet sea of pale clouds. The river reflects the moon in thin flashes of silver as it winds through the dark countryside. The watchman pauses beside the tower and listens. The night feels deep, still. Only the faint rustling of leaves in the distant forest reaches the castle walls. He breathes slowly. In, cool night air. Out, peaceful breath. The calm rhythm of the watch settles gently around him. For a few moments, he simply looks across the sleeping kingdom. The rooftops of the village lie silent beneath the moon. The orchard below the wall remains wrapped in mist. And above it all, the endless sky holds its quiet sea of stars. The watchman turns again and continues his walk along the battlements. Step, pause, step, pause. The peaceful watch of the kingdom continues through the deep and silent hours of the night. The watchman rounds the southern tower and begins walking along the eastern wall of the castle. The moonlight falls more softly here, touching the stone path and the parapets with a pale silver glow. Only a few torches burn along this section, their quiet flames flickering gently in the cool night breeze. Step, pause, step, pause. The air feels calm. The valley below remains wrapped in mist, especially near the river where thin strands of fog drift slowly across the low ground. The watchman pauses beside the wall and looks toward the distant hills. Far away, the forest stretches dark beneath the moon. The tops of the trees sway faintly as the wind moves through them, creating a quiet whisper that barely reaches the castle walls. He listens carefully, The night feels deep and peaceful. No travelers move along the distant roads. No lanterns glow in the village below. The entire kingdom sleeps. The watchman breathes in slowly. In, cool night air. Out, calm breath. The steady rhythm of the night continues around him. Above the towers, the stars shine brightly in the clear sky. Behind him, the torches flicker softly against the stone. And ahead of him, the quiet path along the eastern battlements stretches onward beneath the silver moon. The watchman continues his patrol. Step, pause, step, pause, guarding the silent kingdom through the calm and endless hours of the night. The watchman continues along the eastern wall. The moonlight grows brighter here, where the towers do not block the sky. The stone path glows pale beneath the silver light, and the shadows of the battlements stretch long across the wall. Step, pause, step, pause. His footsteps remain soft and steady. The eastern side of the castle overlooks the river valley more directly. From here, the watchman can see the mist drifting slowly along the water, moving like a quiet tide through the dark fields. He pauses beside a narrow opening in the wall. The river below reflects the moon clearly now, forming a bright line of silver that winds through the valley. The watchman breathes in slowly. The cool air carries the scent of damp earth and distant forest. Everything remains calm. Everything remains still. For a moment, he listens to the quiet night. A faint splash echoes far below where something moves briefly in the river. Then silence returns. The watchman smiles faintly. The night is peaceful. The kingdom sleeps safely beneath the stars. He turns once more and continues his slow patrol along the eastern battlements. Step, pause, step, pause. Above him, the sky stretches wide and endless. Below him, the quiet valley rests beneath the soft glow of the moon. The watchman walks further along the eastern battlements, where the wall begins to rise toward the tall eastern tower. The moon now stands high above the valley, bright and steady in the clear sky. Its silver light spreads across the castle walls, touching every stone with a calm glow. Step, pause, step, pause. The torches here burn softly, their flames quieter than before. Their warm light flickers against the stone and fades slowly into the cool blue shadows of the night. The watchman pauses beside the tower stair that leads down into the courtyard. From here, he can hear faint sounds drifting upward from the sleeping castle. A distant horse shifts quietly in the stables. A wooden door creaks softly somewhere below. Then the silence returns again. The watchman rests his hands on the stone parapet and looks out across the valley. The mist still moves slowly along the river. The fields remain calm and dark beneath the moonlight. And far away along the hills, the forest stands like a quiet shadow against the sky. He breathes in slowly. In, cool night air. Out, calm breath. The deep quiet of the night surrounds the castle walls. After a moment, the watchman turns and continues along the battlements. Step, pause, step, pause. The watch continues beneath the endless sky, while the kingdom rests peacefully in the calm and silent hours before dawn. The watchman leaves the eastern tower behind and continues along the quiet stretch of wall that leads toward the northern side of the castle. The night has grown very deep now. The moon hangs almost directly above the towers, and its pale light spreads across the battlements like a soft blanket of silver. Step, pause, step, pause. The torches burn low. Some of them have grown small and quiet, their flames flickering gently in the breeze before steadying again. Their warm light barely touches the edges of the stone before fading into shadow. The watchman pauses beside the parapet. Below the castle wall, the mist across the valley has thickened slightly, drifting slowly through the fields and around the riverbanks. The world feels hushed. Even the wind moves more gently now. The watchman breathes slowly. In, cool night air. Out, peaceful breath. Far across the fields, an owl calls softly once more. The sound carries across the valley before dissolving into the deep silence of the night. The watchman listens for a moment. Everything remains calm. Everything remains safe. He straightens and continues his quiet patrol. Step, pause, the ancient stones beneath his boots hold the memory of countless watches before this one. And beneath the steady light of the moon, the watchman walks on, guarding the peaceful dreams of the sleeping kingdom. The watchman reaches the northern wall once again. The same place where his watch began earlier in the evening now rests beneath the bright moonlight. The wind moves gently across the ridge, carrying the cool scent of the valley far below. Step, pause. Step, pause. He pauses beside the northern tower and looks out across the land. The mist continues drifting slowly through the fields near the river, glowing faintly beneath the moon. The distant hills remain quiet and dark along the horizon. Above them, the sky is filled with stars, thousands of small lights stretching endlessly across the night. The watchman breathes slowly. In, cool air, calm breath. The deep quiet of the late night settles gently around him. Soon the hours will pass. Soon the eastern sky will begin to pale with the first hint of morning. But for now the night remains calm and endless. The watchman turns and continues along the battlements once more. Step, pause, step, pause. The torches flicker softly, and beneath the calm silver moon, the watchman keeps walking the ancient walls, guarding the peaceful sleep of the kingdom. Through the final quiet hours before dawn, the watchman continues along the northern wall, the same path that has carried his quiet footsteps through the long hours of the night. The moon remains high above the towers, shining clearly across the battlements. Its soft light spreads across the stone path, making the ancient walls glow pale against the darkness of the valley below. Step, pause. Step, pause. The torches now burn very low. Some have faded into glowing embers, their small flames flickering gently before settling again. The moonlight has become the stronger light now, bathing the castle in calm silver tones. The watchman pauses beside the parapet once more. Below the wall, the mist across the valley has begun to thin slightly as the night slowly moves towards its final hours. The river still glimmers beneath the moon, though its silver reflection now looks softer in the drifting fog. He breathes slowly. In, cool night air. Out, peaceful breath. The silence of the late night feels deeper than before. The village below remains still. The fields lie quiet. Even the owls have grown silent. Only the faint whisper of wind moves through the distant trees. The watchman listens carefully for a moment. Then he turns and continues his patrol. Step, pause, step, pause. The ancient stones beneath his boots hold steady beneath each step. Above him the stars stretch endlessly across the sky, and beneath their quiet light the watchman walks on, guarding the calm and peaceful kingdom through the last quiet hours before dawn begins to return. The watchman continues walking along the northern battlements. The night has reached its quietest hour now. The torches burn low behind him, their flames small and steady as they glow softly against the ancient stone. Above the towers the stars still shine brightly, but along the far eastern horizon the darkness has begun to change ever so slightly. Step, pause, step, pause. The watchman pauses beside the parapet one last time. He looks out across the valley. The mist near the river begins to thin, drifting slowly away from the fields. The sky beyond the hills carries the faintest hint of pale grey, the first quiet breath of morning waiting to arrive. He rests his hands on the cool stone wall. For a moment, he simply stands there. The wind moves gently across the towers. The valley remains silent. The kingdom sleeps peacefully beneath the fading stars. The watchman breathes slowly. In, cool night air. Out, calm breath. Another peaceful night has nearly passed. Soon the birds will begin their soft songs. Soon the village doors will open. Soon the sun will rise above the distant hills and warm the ancient castle walls once again. But for this final moment of the night, everything remains still, quiet, safe. The watchman turns and begins walking once more along the ancient wall. Step, pause. The torches flicker softly behind him. The stars slowly fade above him. And beneath the gentle light of the coming dawn, the watchman completes his final quiet steps of the night, guarding the peaceful dreams of the kingdom as a new day slowly begins.